SAFM, setting the nationwide agenda daily. Daily. 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 SAFM, setting the nationwide agenda daily.
To consider suspending EMPD Deputy Chief. For SAFM News, I am Ondalambana and a very good afternoon. The SAPS's Major General Petronella van Rooyen has told the Madlanga Commission that the authority to disband the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team lies exclusively with National Police Commissioner General Fanny Masemula. Van Rooyen is the head of governance, legislation and policy at the Legal Services Division at SAPS. She has told the Commission that Police Minister Senzo Mchunu had no legislative authority to disband the PKTT, especially in the manner that he did.
The Minister of Police is not a technocrat. His or her role is to advance the development of legislation and national police policy, particularly in respect of key issues that require executive attention. Therefore, a minister is empowered to select which areas warrant specialized intervention and attention, such as cash in transit, illegal mining, gangsterism, etc. However, a minister cannot prescribe or direct at an operational level.
Gauteng MEC for Roads and Transport, Kitibone Diale-Tlabela, has called on the taxi industry in the province to urgently begin discussions to end the ongoing violence plaguing the industry. Diale-Tlabela was speaking at the memorial service of slain taxi official Thamsanqa Moya at the Dibkloof Community Hall in Soweto. Moya, who was the Gauteng chairperson of the National Taxi Alliance, was gunned down whilst travelling along the Soweto highway last week. Diale-Tlabela says the increase in violence between taxi associations is unacceptable.
And I'm saying to the industry today, you really need to introspect. You can't be wearing suits and ties, but still carry a gun. We say you are carrying guns because you move around with people with guns. It means you know something that we don't know. And please, let's introspect. You are losing respect on a daily basis. You need to really sit down and talk about this.
The city of Johannesburg has announced plans to remove its equipment, including meters, from properties of customers who are behind their payments. The city says a total of 144,000 customers have been flagged for persistent non-payment and owe close to 12 billion rand. Despite not paying, these customers continue to receive services The disconnection drive is set to begin next month, focusing on 1,366 customers who owe the city a total of 1 billion rand. Malupi Ramachaka is the acting group head of revenue and shared services at the Metro.
The total number of customers we're talking about is 144,000 customers. So we took the 1,366 that was up there on top. We are still going to go down until we finish the 144,000 customers that owe the city a total of 12 billion. And they are spread throughout the city of Johannesburg. Businesses as well. We've got businesses, we've got large businesses in them. And we have some of the upstate estates, people that are living in those estates that have been targeted for this removal.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he will sign an executive order later this week to dismantle what he calls domestic terrorism networks. He was speaking after a deadly gun attack at an immigration center in Dallas. The BBC's David Willis has the details.
Officials are saying that they have no, at least publicly anyway, indication of the motive. But that hasn't stopped this shooting from being heavily politicised, with the FBI saying that bullet casings found at the scene bore anti-government messages and calling this attack targeted violence. And we've seen, of course, a lot of finger-pointing in this country since the death of the conservative activist Charlie Kirk, with President Trump calling the increase in political violence the work of what he calls left-wing radicals.
Recapping the top story, the SAPS's Major General Petronella van Rooyen has told the Madlanga Commission that the authority to disband the KwaZulu-Natal Police Political Killings Task Team lies exclusively with National Police Commissioner General Fani Masamula. I am on Delambara for SFM News Headlines at 3:30.
In sports this summer, baby Proteas geared up for Netball World Youth Cup quarterfinals. All Blacks lose captain for Eden Park clash, and Europe ready for McElroy taunts from rowdy US Ryder Cup fans. More details at 3:30.
You are the poster child, the biggest saver we've ever had.
I decided that I would contact Outsurance and let them work out what they could do for me.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, big saving. 2,794 Rand a month.
That's over 33,000 Rand a year.
And it was the easiest switch ever. Real people helping real people get real deals.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
What does you always get something out mean to you, Lorette?
Outsurance made it possible for us to live our dream to travel more with the money in our pocket that we save.
Let me know, what is it?
725. It was unbelievable. My husband, he sits there on the chair and he's just nodding his head and saying, yes, yes, yes. This is really not just an advertisement. This is really real.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP, TCs and information online.
Greetings, South Africa. My name is Walter Steenbok, SABC Sport football analyst. My favorite African dish, pap and mokhodu. My top three holiday destinations will be Thailand, followed by Cape Town, and of course Zanzibar. Yeah, between a train driver and a pilot, I'll really choose to be a train driver, because I'm on the ground. It's very, very safe, and I hate heights. Between fruits and veggies, I think I like fruits, especially apples. I love to kick penalties against. Between Sipho Chine and Ronwen Williams, I'll choose Ronwen Williams because I'll put it right in the middle. I saw over the weekend.
Do not miss out on electrifying football analysis on Match Days with Walter Koyoko Steenbok. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Embark on your journey to success with the Durban University of Technology. Applications for 2026 first-year students are now open across our 6 faculties. Closing dates will rise, so don't wait. Check detailed entry requirements on dut.ac.za. Apply today through the Central Applications Office at cao.ac.za. DUT and Vision 2030, creative, distinctive, impactful.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So there you are, one day after the Heritage Day celebrations that we all had. That question about how do we inherit the future for South Africa? If the word heritage does mean to inherit, then what do we leave for our children, our families to inherit now, and what do we leave for our country to inherit now? And so one day after Heritage Day, there's nothing stopping you commenting on that anyway. 086 000 2032. But I'll tell you what, today on day 6 of the Madlanga Commission, as always, your one word that best describes what you felt went on today. And it's been interesting because normally we end at 4 o'clock, sometimes slightly over. Today it's ended before 3 o'clock, in fact. So we go with normal programming. But in normal programming, we cannot ignore, of course, the Madlanga Commission. It's the number one story that moves the National Pulse. So to recap, day 6 wrapped up a few minutes ago. In fact, an inquiry looks to get to the bottom of corruption and malfeasance claims, of course, started by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, right? So what happened today? I mean, central to all of that was the Major General Petronella Margarita van Rooyen, who's the component head of governance, legislation and policy at the Legal Services Division within the South African Police. Now, welcome to the show. Welcome to the National Pulse. We'll take your calls as well. Reaction in about 10 minutes' time. To call in 086 000 2032. Tweet using the hashtag The National Pulse. Tag SFM Radio. Tag me too. And then you can send out a WhatsApp voice note 0614 104 107. You can also send us a text message on that same WhatsApp number. So let's reflect on what happened today with a series of voice clips that we think are really important for you to hear. First of all, the SAPS Major General Petronella van Rooyen says the longer dockets remain unattended, however long it takes. When it takes very long and it remains unattended, the more difficult it becomes to investigate cases properly.
Mkhwanazi, as a provincial commissioner, confirmed that he was never informed prior to the removal of his dockets, nor was he consulted on the possible disbandment. From April 25 to August 25, these dockets were stored at head office in compliance with Lieutenant General Sibiya's direction. In September 2025, a joint media statement was released by the Ministry of Police and the National Commissioner, directing that the dockets head back to KZN. And this is part of my File 2, VR7, a newspaper report confirming the terms of his statement.
Yes, that's at 118 to 119. The National Commissioner testified on that and gave context regarding that media statement and how it was misinterpreted, because that process had commenced long before the postponement of the commencement date of the commission, and he had explained that properly in his evidence. Then the next topic.
Mr. Matau, before you go to the next topic, General, focusing on the prescripts, we know what General Masemola said and what General Mkhwanazi said. Is it consistent with any prescript that you are aware of, whether it's the national instructions or other directives? Is it consistent with any of those for dockets to be taken from a province or a unit or a task team and be stored at national office for a period of up to 5 months without any investigations taking place?
No, Commissioner, it is not. And I think the first reason that raises alarm is it means the investigations are stagnant. Nothing is happening. On that investigation, you would expect the police to proceed as fast as possible and make a breakthrough. But the longer the dockets remain unattended, the more difficult it becomes to investigate that cases properly. Evidence get lost, witnesses forget with time, and therefore the investigation, any investigation, will be detrimentally affected if it is stored somewhere and no attention it doesn't receive attention in the furtherance of the investigation.
Well, there's more. Van Rooyen also made the point of making the comparison between decisions made at a political level and the impact it has then on the task team. Here it is.
Is that correct, though? And this is apart from the discussion about whether it's a policy decision, assuming he could make the decision, and the PKTT is what it is and constituted in the way that it was by an interministerial committee. If you say it wasn't competent for the minister, then we have to locate it in some instrument. Why we say that? As in, for example, it was in its foundation, was there an agreement or a contemplation that it will continue to exist until it is dissolved? Because it's quite a high mark that you're putting to it when you say it wasn't competent of the minister to do that, and I think we need to be certain about the legal basis for making such a statement.
Commissioner, as I understood it, the instruction or the directive came from the President in view of a priority of political killings in the province. An interministerial committee consisting of various ministers were informed of the instruction. They gave it through to the Director Generals of their departments to operationalize the instruction. The political task team was established in the police in view of the role of investigation, but they were allocated or assigned prosecutors to deal with that task team. So the task team itself was a police task team, but the resources or broader implication was that there were specific prosecutors assigned to deal with cases that were investigated by the task team themselves. And therefore, my submission is, if a decision is taken on a political level that the task team no longer is justified, then that decision should at least have been discussed with the counterparts on the level of ministerial level. They could have agreed or they could have raised concerns, but for me the important thing is that should have been shared by the political role players, or if a minister took that decision with his counterparts, because it affected their departments as well. Keep in mind, as I said, the implementation and operationalization thereof was within the departments, but at least if a decision was taken on ministerial level, it should have been discussed with the other relevant ministers as well.
Right, and then an important issue effectively explained by Major General Petronella van Rooyen about the terms of reference of the Commission.
To the issue of litigation between the executive authority and the head of department, and also to indicate that another factor to consideration in an attempt to avoid litigation is that this is in part necessitated by the fact that public funds will be utilized to litigate, and an accounting officer is required in accordance with Section 39 of the PFMA to ensure that expenditure of his department is in accordance with the vote of the department and the main divisions within the vote, and that effective and appropriate steps are to be taken to prevent unauthorized expenditure. And you can never budget for litigation. In the police, we are well aware of that, especially in view of a contingency liability of civil claims. So it's not something that you can budget for.
Okay. All right, I think your point is taken. Paragraph 117, Chapter 3 of the Constitution.
Chapter 3 of the Constitution furthermore emphasizes the need for cooperative government and the need for all spheres of government and organs of state to cooperate. Surely these principles can also be expected to be complied with within a department itself, and not only to regulate relationships that exist with other departments or other spheres of government. This matter is even more critical within the security cluster, where sensitive matters are discussed and shared, and where the potential disclosure of intricacies of disputes may negatively affect safety and security of a country. Thirdly, the terms of reference of a commission provides for the consideration of the effectiveness or failure of oversight mechanisms. In my view, the Commission, and not the committee,
the Commission,
should consider this aspect continuously in the evaluation of evidence presented. However, in my view, the question should also be posed whether oversight could or would have made a difference in some of the matters. For example, the Commission has been presented evidence about the conduct of Lieutenant General Sibiya relating to a letter presented to the National Commissioner to formalise the disbandment of a task team. Assuming this evidence is accepted, the conduct of Lieutenant General Sibiya to repeatedly approach the National Commissioner with the same letter on subsequent dates and thereafter signing the letter without authority while he was fully aware of the instructions of a National Commissioner is not a matter that could be dealt with by means of oversight or more effective oversight.
Okay, and then finally, this is what Major General Petronella said.
Mkhwanazi, as a Provincial Commissioner, confirmed that he was never informed prior to the removal of his dockets, nor was he consulted on the possible disbandment. From April 25 to August 25, these dockets were stored at head office in compliance with Lieutenant General Sibiya's direction. In September 2025, a joint media statement was released by the Ministry of Police and the National Commissioner, directing that the dockets head back to KZN. And this is part of my File 2, VR7, a newspaper report confirming the terms of his statement.
Yes, that's at 118 to 119. The National Commissioner testified on that and gave context regarding that media statement and how it was misinterpreted, because that process had commenced long before the postponement of the commencement date of the commission, and he had explained that properly in his evidence. Then the next topic.
Mr. Mutau, before you go to the next topic, General, focusing on the prescripts, we know what General Masemola said and what General Mkhwanazi said. Is it consistent with any prescript that you are aware of, whether it's the national instructions or other directives? Is it consistent with any of those for dockets to be taken from a province or a unit or a task team and be stored at national office for a period of up to 5 months without any investigations taking place?
No, Commissioner, it is not. And I think the first reason that raises alarm is it means the investigations are stagnant. Now,
okay, that's just some of the important points that we've been able to share with you coming from the SAPS Major General Petronella van Rooyen. Now, what's important now is your thoughts, your comments. So we'll take reaction from you right away. As always, just one word that best describes today's proceedings, day 6. But of course, you can expand on that. Now, how to do that? Call in 086 000 2032. You got that? And then WhatsApp 0614 104 107, text or voice note. Either way, you and I all connected to the National Pulse.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Kinelo Matibela, best known as Maestro. I am an SABC Sport football analyst. I've never been to a picnic before. Oh my goodness. People sometimes struggle to pronounce my name, so everyone is just saying Maestro, so it has stuck with me. A good joke I heard when somebody said to someone, "You look so dark, you literally look like under the bed." My favorite dress code, I don't like being formal. Oh, I'm not a fan of meat. My favorite meal is definitely putu and milk. My current favorite song, A Million Little Miracles. Can even count them all. To South Africa and the continent, tune into SABC Sport.
Catch the incredible football analysis on Match Days with Kinelo Maestro Matibela. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
We all know a Miss Sarah, that parent who randomly calls to check up on you.
When are you visiting?
she knows that every call or text goes towards her free funeral cover. She'll keep calling until she spent at least 120 Rand a month.
Mara, why haven't you accepted my friend request? Huh?
For every convo or scroll, you get 10,000 Rand free funeral cover. Recharge with 120 Rand every month to get covered. No paperwork, debit orders, or medicals. Recharge on the VodaPay app or dial *123#. T's and C's apply. Underwritten by Vodacom Life Assurance Company, a licensed life insurer. Further together, Vodacom.
Right, make a note of this. We've been talking about it all week, but a reminder for you, as always, the Spar Baby Proteas have been taking part in the Netball World Youth Cup 2025 in Gibraltar. It ends on the 28th of September. So these are our rising stars. Hashtag Together We Rise, brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I'll tell you something, I can ask for you to call in and then we also get recommendations. And in this case here, these are recommendations from the Commission already, from Imzo in Pinetown. And all this very interesting from Imzo. He's saying, number one, General Masemola, not fit for office. This is his recommendations, okay? Number two, General Sibiya, not fit for office. 3, did you say Minister Mkhunu, not fit to hold office. 4, Chief of Staff, not fit for office. 5, General Mkhwanazi to be installed as National Commissioner with immediate effect. 6, Chairperson of the Police Portfolio Committee, not fit to be a chairperson. 7, note well, President Ramaphosa, not fit to lead this country by allowing Mkhunu to act wrongfully. Imzo, Pinetown, KZN, that's it. Recommendations by decree. Right, let's get more thoughts from you. That's certainly very, very thought-provoking. Here's another.
Ashraf, this video from Muhammad Siddiq Krugerstown. Ashraf, those members of the parliament, I don't know is the Scopa or the ad hoc or whoever, who when General Mkhwanazi went to them and reported that and they did nothing, they must also come here to the Commission of Inquiry. And afterwards, the president must fire them also for sleeping on their duty. Thank you.
Yes, man. Somebody wants the president fired, others wants the president to fire other people. Like, he's got so much on his plate. Here's another.
Ashraf, speaking to Tshepo. Today, Commission, brilliant. She's brilliant. Van Rooyen, Captain Van Rooyen is brilliant. She deserves a bell. Thank you.
Well, she certainly came across very, very clear in terms of her thoughts, right? Yeah, okay, but is it early days to say deserve a bell? Of course, I mean, that's her thoughts in terms of the procedures, but there will be other, rebuttals on some of the thoughts later on. Ronald in Midrand. Hello, Ronald.
Ashraf, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good indeed. What's your point?
Yes, Ashraf, I phoned the other time and said we are in a mafia state.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is laid bare during the day now. Everyone cannot contest the facts now anymore. And I'm glad the lady who testified today was very eloquent, clear. She did not mince a word. She knew her job and everything. Now, I'm just surprised who else is still normal who will be voting for the ANC when they have subjected us to this kind of condition just after 30 years of liberating us. It is a shame, man.
I mean, let me throw this to you upside down. If it was a complete mafia state, we wouldn't have a commission of inquiry, number one. And yes, there's a lot that's gone wrong with the ANC, and I mean, we've all been critical of it, understandably so. But it is the same leadership of the president who comes from the ANC who's actually opened the commission in the first place. So just think about that too.
No, Ashraf, remember I said, damn me, that thing. They're not going to act on it. You
think it's all spaza?
It's all, yes, because who was arrested for that Zondo Commission? No one. It's just a dummy to say, otherwise there will be uprising. Let's give them a dam. Let's act like we'll do something. Nothing will be done. You know it very well.
Hey, you say I know it. Okay, I don't know it, Ronald. Thank you very much. But Ronald knows more than I do. So is it going to be a spaza thing or not? Joseph in the South Coast. Hello, Joseph.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Yeah, afternoon. Thank you. Go for it. What's your point?
Ashraf, I haven't called you for quite some time. I was out of the country, but I'm gonna say this. You know, syndicates, they are so sophisticated. They delay the process and hide the truth. But I think it's high time now for us to stand as one. Forget about all these political unions. Let's just be one now and say, we want this, we don't want this. Because my problem is, this thing is going to go, Madlanga Commission, because we are a country, we are citizens that are so forgivable. Many things have happened in this country, but we forgive. Within 2 days, this thing will be gone. I am telling you.
When you say, let's just be one, just help us explain, what does just be one mean to you? Because it may not mean the same thing to somebody else.
Okay, all right. I just want to clarify this. We are hearing different people in this Langa Commission, but where the fingers are pointing, they are pointing at different individuals with the same thing that they were doing. Now, who do we go for now? Are we still having the right leader? And I still want Mbalula to come out strongly and say the same thing he said on that Monday. Mkhwanasi is doing this, is doing that. And I also want that ANC Youth League young man to come out and say what he said prior to his announcement on the radio. They must come out now and still tell us, is still Mkhwanasi wrong or right? Thank you, Ashraf.
Okay, thank you. There we are. Joseph in the South Coast. Welcome back from your trips overseas and back on the National Pulse. Right, Lesiba in Khobokwane. Go for it. What's your point?
Yeah, good afternoon, Ezra. I think people must stop politicizing the whole commission. This commission is a commission of inquiry. It's a legal commission. The information that's been left there is the information that is going to be in the interest of everybody in the country. I think now we are getting, with the third witness taking the stand, we are able to see the bigger picture now. I know it's too early to tell, but I think for President to add, it is very clear, it's beyond. Minister Mutunu will not come back. So what should happen now? The president should completely relieve Mutunu of his responsibility as the Minister of Police and save the taxpayers' money, because it's very clear the man is not coming. And then for the law enforcement agencies, they must follow. They mustn't push to do their work. They must follow the evidence that is coming there, the individuals that have been mentioned, and make sure that they quickly start the investigation, make the arrest. Before the conclusion of the first report of the commission, many people have been started to account. I think this is where we should go, so that people have to have confidence that this one, it will not be like Zondo, it will not be like Mutimel and other commission files that we had. This one we're taking serious, and we're going to make sure recommendations are indeed implemented.
All right, I'll tell you what, I hear your point. We're going to move to news, but interesting thought around just the legal aspects of, when can the law act based upon the findings of the commission, which will only come in a good few months' time. We know that, right? 3:30. Let's get to the news headlines.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the 38-year-old man convicted of the murder of a German tourist on the Numbi Road towards the Kruger National Park in 2022 has been sentenced to 25 years imprisonment. Napoleon Nyalunga was sentenced in the Mpumalanga division of the High Court sitting in Mbombela. Police Major General Petronella van Rooyen has told the Madlanga Commission in Pretoria that the authority to disband the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team lies exclusively with National Police Commissioner General Fani Masamula, and the trial of former Kruger National Park Regional Ranger Rodney Landela and his co-accused has been adjourned to November 27th at the Skukuza Regional Court in Mpumalanga. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Alexandra is a stationary vehicle after Marlborough Drive. The N3 northbound, a crash at Baklu interchange, and the N3 southbound in Germiston, a crash at the M2 Galdnes interchange. In KZN, the N2 southbound, a stationary vehicle with the left shoulders blocked after the ramp from Ngeni Road interchange. And the N3 southbound has a stationary vehicle reported on the left shoulder blocking off things before the ramp to Linfield Park. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving towards Okavango Road, Victoria Road outbound is slow moving through Woodstock, and Batencross Street outbound slow moving towards the elevated freeway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma Jean.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Kapele.
Wow, we've been talking about netball all week, understandably so. So why should we stop talking about it now, Tumi?
Absolutely. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, the baby Proteas are really flying that South African flag high at the Netball World Youth Cup, and they say that they know what to expect in today's quarterfinal against the Cook Islands tonight. Coach Precious Mthembu says that the team gained valuable insight when they faced the Islanders in their build-up to the tournament. South Africa's under-21 side go into this clash on the back of topping Pool D after commanding 86-35 win over Fiji yesterday.
The results really secured our spots in the quarterfinals. Now we shift focus to our next challenge against Cook Island. Fortunately, we had an opportunity to play Cook Island in our warm-up games when we got here in Gibraltar, so we kind of have a good sense of what to expect from them. Today was just being clinical, managing the energy on the girls' legs, making sure that everyone is on the same level.
Then moving on to football, Munna Pule Saleng's agent Karabo Chabuse has poured cold water on rumours of a fallout with the Orlando Pirates over money. Chabuse says that the winger's absence in recent months sparked unnecessary speculation, but insists that there was no conflict with the club. Now, Saleng has since joined Betway Premiership newcomers Orbit College for the rest of the season, a move his camp believes that will help him revive his career.
What do we see? We see Munna Pule Saleng saying, I'm not okay on that Giants show, right? That is already an answer in and of itself, is that it was a season where mental fitness was not matching physical fitness, right?
Yeah.
So what do I need to do? I need to look after my client in that space. It's not my role to go to the media and give explanations why he is not on the pitch.
Fair enough.
And what I like is that from the Giants show or the Pirates show, Saleng is live saying, I am not okay. And granted, people are only getting it after the fact, after the speculation about where he is. Does he really want to be there? And I'm only speaking about it now because the employer has commissioned this to show that he was not okay.
Well, still staying with football, Premier League champions Liverpool will play FA Cup winners Crystal Palace in the fourth round of the Carabao Cup. Holders Newcastle host Tottenham in another all-Premier League tie, while Arsenal, who have not won the competition since 1993, face Brighton. Grimsby Town, the only League Two side, will still standing and conquerors of Manchester United get another home tie against Premier League side Brentford, and with three Welsh sides in the last 16 for the first time, it was perhaps inevitable that there will be an all-Welsh clash at Wrexham hosting Cardiff City, with 2013 winners Swansea handing a tie against Manchester City, and it will be the first meeting between Wrexham and Cardiff since 2002. In rugby, the All Blacks have recalled several big names, but they're going to be without captain Scott Barrett when they face the Wallabies at Eden Park on Saturday. Now, Barrett has been ruled out with a shoulder injury, while Ardie Savea taking over the captaincy for the crucial Rugby Championship and Bledisloe Cup clash. And finally, in golf, Europe's golfers are ready for world number 2 Rory McIlroy to become a magnet for United States supporters when the Ryder Cup begins tomorrow. McIlroy, who won the Masters in April to complete a career Grand Slam, leads holders Europe into his 8th Cup showdown, the most of any player in this week's matches, and he was greeted with a chorus of boos from spectators at the first tee yesterday during a practice round, responding just with a wave. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to do there at the Ryder Cup. That's it from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Okay, so listen, our netball team, I mean, Certainly worth cheering on for.
They're definitely worth cheering on for. I mean, winning their first two with over 100 goals and beating Fiji. It wasn't over 100 goals, this one. However, 86-35, can we still say it's a thrashing? It's still a thrashing, right?
No, it's like over 40 points. If I'm not
I mean,
mistaken.
do you understand what I'm saying? So looking forward to how they're going to play. They're playing tonight at 7 p.m. against Cook Islanders. Aside that, they actually played against building up to this tournament, so they know what to expect. And I believe that they will do well. They will go through to the semifinals.
Okay, and then what? We shall see. All right. Thank you. Let's talk about that and more in the next hour.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, lots of comments. We're going to get an analysis of what's happened today on day 6 of the Madlanga Commission, but I need to get your own analysis first, so let me hear you out.
Ashraf, it's a young guy here from East London. If I am to analyze everything that has transpired so far, including the testimony today, all that I can say is that it is collaborating. There has been too much collaboration of the testimony by General Mkhwanazi and Fani Masemula and the General today. There is too much collaboration that the disbandment of the political killing test team was unlawful. Therefore, I think the minister must come and face the music. Thanks, Ashraf.
They must face the music. Here's a question to you. In any, in fact, wait, I'll talk about that family group thing just now because there's other things I want you to hear as well. Here's another.
Oh, good afternoon, Ashraf. To you and Captain. Ashraf, listening to the testimony and all those inquiry, you feel like solving crime is not a priority in South Africa. You know, even the parliament should do their job. So the mafia really infiltrate everywhere. You know, you can see that there's no will, you know, to fight crime. It's disaster. That's become like a mafia stuff. The minister acting like a mafia, and that is so bad. It reminds me of mafia in Italy in the 1980. Tion Captain, thank you. Mafiosi.
Mafiosi. Wow. Oh, goodness, man. We were talking about the movie Sicilian Clan just the other night. Yeah. All right. More. Well, you're saying it's not a priority? Maybe some may say it is a priority. That is why you have people in high places who then get compromised because it's such a big deal that they have to be removed, okay? Think about that too. I'll take more calls as soon as I can, but let's now get a reaction, an analysis so far on day 6 and maybe some other issues that have come through in like just over a week of the Madlanga Commission. With me, Dr. Chris de Kock, who's a crime expert and the former SAPS head of the Crime Information Analysis Center. Dr. de Kock, as always, appreciate you connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to the listeners.
All right. I take it, I mean, you certainly have been following the entire commission, but in particular today, the testimony of the Major General Petronella van Rooyen. What do you make of what she said? What stands out for you?
Well, actually, the whole day stands out to me. I think she was excellent. I think she has an excellent career in the South African Police Service in legal services. 42 years, and even her CV is very impressive. If you see that, as she said, the master's was on constitutional framework, the doctorate on criminal law, and everything that she said made sense to me, because she argued from a legal and from the Police Act and all the other acts that guide and provide the framework. So I could find nothing wrong with her whole testimony.
All right. Okay. So overall, you're impressed, but let's look at specifics. What did she say that I won't even say impressed you, but that certainly jumped off the page in terms of confirming the type of conversations we've been having all week and even before that?
Well, I think the most important thing that she conveyed today is the fact that this was not, if it was an instruction or a directive or whatever one want to call it, but the minister's, let's call it instruction or the minister's directive to disband this task team was definitely not in his power. I mean, he could not tell the National Commissioner to disband that. That should have been a decision within the South African Police Service and a decision taken by the National Commissioner, say, together with Crime Intelligence and the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal.
Okay, just to be clear, how did she back that up? What did she say in terms of the law and what's and in terms of oversight and who can do what and can't do what? That confirms her position.
No, well, she clearly stipulated what the minister can do and that it is policy decisions and that he is responsible for policy while the National Commissioner is in control operationally. And this is clearly operational because what we have here, and I mean that she made quite clear, is here we have a whole group of investigations. I mean, we have got 121 dockets, all, and not all on one case or one such incident, but about political killings, hits on other people. But here they have got a whole group of dockets. Now, suddenly you close down this unit, or this unit, and you send these dockets back to the station of origin, and you send the people back to KwaZulu-Natal, to wherever they worked before, and to other places in the country. Now, these investigations fall flat. I mean, even who's going to take these cases now to court? Cases which are maybe court-ready, where there can be somebody arrested and that person has to be taken to court. And so you stop a whole group of investigations, very important investigations of hits that occurred. I mean, it's serious crime. And how can the minister say, and if I can take you back, the National Commissioner said that he asked the minister, but why do you want to stop this thing? That's now after the letter of the minister, which actually said they were useless. But the minister said no, and he's coming from that province, and he was an MEC in that province. He said no, because political killings happened before 94. Now, I mean, I think basically everybody in South Africa is aware that before 94, there was a lot of violence in KwaZulu-Natal, but it was a different kind of violence. It was not it was political killings, but it was factions or parties fighting each other. And then came 94, and then suddenly the concentration was on councillors, either from a different political party or even intra-party. So I mean, we all know of all the political killings. How could a minister give such an answer which doesn't make any sense?
All right. She did touch on, Van Rooyen, that is, touched on the implications of this disbandment of this task team, that it had, I would think, on the morale of people in the police service, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did she say about that in terms of what impact did it actually have on their morale?
Well, as I understood it, a very negative impact. Very negative impact. I can even take you back to much earlier times, which General Mangwanazi referred to, which was the time of General Richard Mdluli, the so-called Richard Mdluli affair. And then he came back to Crime Intelligence, and then he was suspended, and he came back, and all of that. It had an extremely negative effect. The whole affair, the whole business had a very, very serious effect on the South African Police Service, but especially in Crime Intelligence, because people were confused. What is right? What is wrong? Should they continue with their work? Maybe that it will land them in trouble. this specific case that we are now referring to, I'm certain that it would have a negative effect on the members.
What about, I mean, we're just about a week into the commission, right? And of course, so many people calling in from wherever they may be, Pretoria to Polokwane and somewhere in between, have an opinion, right? What have you seen so far, and how would you pronounce on what you've just heard? 1 week.
I would say in this week I've heard 3 sets or 3 people which appeared before the commission. I think it was all, General Mangwanazi's evidence and his whole revealing of everything and in front of the commission. I think that was excellent. Today was really of high quality. It was a different level. General Masemola, maybe the first day was a little bit not so straight, but on the second day, he really spoke his mind, and hopefully all the other people. Look, we will have to wait right till the end, but hopefully all the other people who's going to give some evidence there will be of this level. And then we will see how things get confirmed, how there's collaboration for whatever was said. But I think we'll still have to wait because we have to hear all the other evidence. We can't jump to a conclusion now already.
Say we will have to wait to the end. So before, just a quick answer on this one. We've had lots of people, calling in and saying, well, one thing is the end, but certainly because certain people have testified against others, we know this is not a court of law, why would not then the prosecution authorities act against them immediately? Can they do that? Just help us understand the law on this one.
No, look, I'm not a legal expert, so I can't say that. But today, somebody somebody asked to be placed on suspension. The acting head of I think it's the Ekurhuleni Metro Police.
Issue we may cover later on, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because he was linked in this commission to one of the masterminds, underworld masterminds. So that tells you a story, and I will, even after the revelations of General Mangwanazi in May, people got arrested. So I think this, I'm not saying that people who still have to give evidence should be arrested or something like that. That's why I say we'll have to wait right up to the end. And but I'm not a legal expert, so I can't give
fair enough. But I think what you're saying, if I can understand you correctly, that just by virtue of the commission being kick-started, it's gaining its own momentum. And outside of even people being arrested, right, there are people who understand they need to walk away even now, and we could see more of that in the days and months ahead. Yeah,
I'm absolutely certain, and also this is basically in one area. It's one of the task teams, but there are many other killings by the very same people, and I think many facts may still jump into the picture.
Okay.
The other day I saw the widow of the late Colonel Charles Kinnear on TV, and it seems he was at the commission.
Okay.
So there's a lot of other issues that may still enter the picture.
Absolutely. Let's leave it at that, and I'm sure we're going to talk again sometime soon. Dr. Chris de Kock, crime expert, former SAPS head of the Crime Information Analysis Center. So there we are. The Madlanga Commission, something to just fall asleep about. Nothing will happen. Things are actually happening, and you can tell us about it on the National Pulse.
In fitness, as in finance, endurance is key. If you're 55 and older, you can get an interest rate of up to 10.62% with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Now feel the earn. Invest in under 2 minutes on the Money app and get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. For more info, visit nedbank.co.za.
80 years of innovation, and we are just getting started. The CSIR an entity that falls within the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, together with the global sustainable technology and innovation community, presents the CSIR at 80 GISTIC Conference in Pretoria from 8 to 10 October. Held under the theme Science, Technology and Innovation for a Sustainable Future, the conference brings together global change makers shaping solutions for a sustainable future. Catch SAFM live on Wednesday, 8 October for exclusive conversations shaping the future of sustainability. The CSIR, 80 years of touching lives through innovation.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Now, you know, earlier on, the Minister of Electricity and Energy, Dr. Ramakgopa, has been briefing the media about interventions they've taken or they've made to end load reduction. I just say that because we will play some of those clips, not quite now, later on. But the chairperson of Eskom, Mteto Nyati, tweeting saying Eskom's energy availability factor exceeding the 70% target the board set for the generation fleet. So proud of this team, cheering the team on for swimming as they should. I thought I'd just put that out there. Ms. Wandile in Gqeberha, go for it. Hello.
Yeah, Ashraf, listen, I'd like to broaden the conversation a little bit by asking this question. At the root of the cause, is it political? In essence, I'm asking, is this a political created problem? Is it stemming from politics? And if so, the outcomes of what we are seeing, is it likely to influence how we vote? I would like to hear from your viewers also.
Okay, good. In fact, let me ask you this. I mean, would it influence how you vote if you find, you know, some of the shortcomings of the policing system? If it's people who are inadequate, that's one thing. If it's people who are crooked by nature, that's another. But if it's directly as a result of political interference, as you had sort of alluded to, then how would that impact on your voting? You don't have to give me names, but how would it impact on how you choose?
Yeah, Ashraf, I like that. You see, there are so many components that influences a voter. Now, one would then ask, what percentage of that is being influenced by what is happening? Now, the reason I'm saying that is, to somebody else, this might influence a huge percentage of them, but to somebody else it might not, as alarming as it is.
Okay, well, you got that, and you've certainly put that on the agenda to consider, or for us to consider, so thank you for that, right?
Thanks, Ashraf.
Thank you. Let's get to the voice notes here.
General, I figure out that it's very important for us as a people to appoint the right people, qualified people to positions. She is a typical example of someone who deserves that office. She nailed it, spoke fluently, and there's nothing more that we can actually require from a professional at a level. I'm disappointed even looking at the police commissioner. You ask yourself, is that the best person that we actually have for the job? Thank you very much.
Okay. In fact, making the comparison between the police commissioner and Major General Petronella van Rooyen, who has impressed many people. You see, at that point, that ultimately we must have the right people in the right position. I mean, you would do that for your soccer team, wouldn't you? Would you have it any less than that?
Good afternoon, SAFM listeners. This is Tabiso from Jacobsdal, Richie. Abshrat, Kaizer Chiefs, man. Kaizer Chiefs. We really need those 3 points, but we have confidence in the boys. Thank you.
Okay, there we are. When the note said Chiefs, I thought the people at the commission, the big chiefs at the commission, but I suppose everybody's a chief. It's all relative to which chief you're talking about, isn't it? Here's another.
Ashraf, for the Heritage Day, only people displayed by the way how they dress, but the crime and the killings and the corruption, this is what people are inheriting. If you can check from the ANC, they are doing corruption with their own nephews, the grandchildren. And the killings is happening each and everywhere, which means the children are killing. because they are doing what their parents are doing. My name is Les.
Thank you for that, Les. And just talking about other things, I'm looking at a note from Al Jazeera. In fact, if I can find it, they say they've got confirmation. Some of the people on the flotilla that Israel will increase. Increase in terms of a possible attack on the flotillas to the point there'll be casualties. Now, of course, it's speculation only, and it's come from Al Jazeera English, so I'll just put that out there. We'll certainly need to follow up on that story. Here's another.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, there they go again. That is the politicians trying to erase their dirty handling of South African government in the past 30 plus years. They come up with their ungodly dirty ways as usual, trying to blackmail Mkhwanaz's move on them. We're expecting their propaganda, Ashraf. Look now, this commission is only based on political killings. Okay, Ashraf,
you resigned. You're okay. All right. No, man. Pick yourself up. Really, things are maybe happening, aren't they?
So, I'm just curious to see how this thing is going to unfold, especially when our current number one, Mr. Ramatamela, has been implicated. And I think he's going to be implicated in many ways. And I wonder what's going to happen, especially in the ANC, as to remember what happened with the fire pool when, the ANC was trying to justify the fire pool after Madonsela's commission. And I'm just wondering, why now did he put Mkhunu on administrative leave instead of firing him, because the evidence was there? But I guess, they have to allow this process to unfold before they can. But then I think he's going to be implicated in many ways or so. And I wonder if he's going to throw him under the bus.
He's going to be implicated. We'll see. Here's another comment on the commission. Loyiso in Randburg. Go for it.
Ashraf, good afternoon, and good afternoon to the listeners.
Thank you.
Yes, I think we should allow the police to continue making the arrests, Ashraf. In particular, where if you listen to General Mkhwana, they were saying that we need to connect the dots. And I think that there could be revelations that will even involve criminality outside of Gauteng and KZN. I mean, if you look at it, our drug capital is the Western Cape. How do these drugs then move between KZN and Gauteng to Western Cape? Surely there must be involvement by some underhanded cops who are a part of the value chain.
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to that. I was really impressed by the presentations today by the legal person from the SARS. I think she was spot on. The minister went beyond his reach. And on top of it, he then coerces Sibiya to sign a letter on behalf of SARS, while Sibiya doesn't have the powers to do that outside the
and I think, and I hear you. Let's leave it at that. I hear you. The question is, can we ever be the same again after this? For people who say, nothing's going to happen. I mean, seriously, how can we have it that nothing will happen? Let's get the news. It's just gone 4 o'clock.
SABC News, independent and impartial.
On the top stories, a man sentenced to 25 years imprisonment for murder and authority to disband the PKTT lies with Masamula. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. The 38-year-old man convicted of the murder of German tourist on the Numbi Road towards the Kruger National Park in 2022 has been sentenced to 25 years imprisonment. Napoleon Nyalunga was sentenced in the Mpumalanga division of the High Court sitting in Mbombela. Yorsnar was shot through the window of the minibus he was driving. He was traveling with his wife and 2 others when they were attacked on the Numbi Road. Police Major General Petronella van Rooyen has told the Madlanga Commission in Pretoria that the authority to disband the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team lies exclusively with National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemula. Their hearings have been adjourned until tomorrow. Van Rooyen is the head of governance, legislation and policy at the Legal Services Division at SAPS. She has told the Commission that Police Minister Senzo Mchunu had no legislative authority to disband the PKTT, especially in the manner that he did.
The Minister of Police is not a technocrat. His or her role is to advance the development of legislation and national police policy, particularly in respect of key issues that require executive attention. Therefore, a minister is empowered to select which areas warrant specialized intervention and attention, such as cash in transit, illegal mining, gangsterism, etc. However, a minister cannot prescribe or direct at an operational level.
Gauteng Health MEC Nomandungo Moralihogo says the inspection of spaza shops is continuing to ensure they are compliant and meet health and safety regulations. This comes after over 800 cases of foodborne illnesses were reported in the province last year. The MEC was speaking at the commemoration of World Environmental Health in Boksburg, Ekurhuleni. Moralihogo says environmental health remains a top priority in preventing communicable diseases.
This food-borne diseases is not gone. It's still there. You can find the pockets of it in other communities. That's why we can't stop educational programs to the communities. So you will get a report that talks to the programs that we are doing on weekly basis.
Officials in Indonesia says more than 1,000 school children have suffered food poisoning this week after eating school lunches. It's the latest in a series of outbreaks to hit the president's multi-billion-dollar free meals program. The BBC's Anbarasan Edrijan has the details.
The latest mass poisoning was reported in 4 areas of Indonesia's West Java province, increasing demands to suspend the scheme. One official said small hospitals in West Bandung were overwhelmed by sick students. There have been questions over the oversight of the project since it was launched in January by President Prabowo Subianto, who says the initiative will help transform Indonesia into a country that is free from poverty and hunger.
Recapping the top story, the 38-year-old man convicted of the murder of German tourist on the Numbi Road towards the Kruger National Park in 2022 has been sentenced to 25 years imprisonment. I'm on Lambana First FM News headlines at 4:30.
In your sports, the Sawa now to lead the Stormers in URC opener. Relief for Orbit College as Olympia Park Stadium gets green light, and Sena eases past Selic to launch a China Open title. But I'll have more on this at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound slow moving towards Boysens. The N3 southbound in Alexandra has a stationary vehicle after Marlborough Drive, and the N3 southbound in Bedfordview roadworks with traffic restrictions towards Van Buren Road. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle reported after Umgeni Road, and Umgeni Road westbound is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue. The M3 inbound is slow moving towards Hospital Bend, and Voortrekker Road westbound in Goodwood slow moving at the N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
This week on FC Meets, Disetso and Bandile chat to TS Galaxy's rising Bafana star Kumlani Ndamane. Find out how this defensive gem handles the pressure of being a starting 11 regular, national duty responsibilities, and overseas ambitions. Tune in to SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 on Saturday, 27 September at 6 p.m. Also available on SABC Plus. FC Meets, football made for community by community. Richenja Gay. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again.
Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, lots more we're going to talk about. I mentioned the issue about electricity or load shedding and where Eskom is. We're going to play some sound clips from the minister regarding that later on. And also, being a Thursday today and not a Tuesday, we have the regular G20 crossing where we connect with Channel Africa. And this today's one is all about Africa in the context of the goings on at the United Nations. So do not miss that. But it does mean I have a chance to talk to you as well. So let's get to some of your thoughts via voice notes.
Hi, at Ashraf and Dumiso Fuze here in Richards Bay. Today, just listening to the Mkhwanazi inquiry thing. I just felt that Commissioner Madlanga was just looking for a way out for Mkhunu. For instance, asking that could it even happen that a minister could give a directive. I just felt they're trying to find an excuse for him or something that he might say.
Okay, is that how you see it? I mean, I don't know. Listen, as someone who hosts talk shows and moderates sessions in public spaces, I think people mistake questions from thinking that you actually agree with someone. I would think that he'd be right in asking that question to get clarity, not necessarily to find a way out, to be absolutely clear and unambiguous about what a minister can and cannot do.
Hello, Ashraf. This is Tepiso. I'm just curious to see how this thing is going to unfold, especially when our current number one, Mr. Ramatamela, has been implicated. And I think he's going to be implicated in many ways. And I wonder what's going to happen, especially in the ANC, as to remember what happened with the fire pool, when the ANC was trying to justify the fire pool after Madonsela's commission. And I'm just wondering, why now did he put Mkhunu on administrative leave instead of firing him, because the evidence was there? But I guess, they have to allow this process to unfold before they can. But then I think he's going to be implicated in many ways or so. And I wonder if he's going to throw him under the bus.
Well, I mean, you've asked so many questions. Not one of us can give you an answer. But I'll tell you what, let's replay that sound clip maybe a few months down the line and see what comes up, right? Yeah, okay.
Hi, good afternoon, Ashraf. Flores here from the beautiful Winelands, man. Ashraf, I don't think that this commission should continue any longer and just a waste of taxpayers' money. Mkhunu should be fired right on the spot and he should pay back the money since his inception of Minister of Police, period. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
So you think that's it? Like, just call it today? Absolutely done. Finished. Klar. No, man. Stofile in the Eastern Cape. Hi.
Well, Stofile, I am just coming into the caller who was talking about Mr. Madlanga's comments. You see, Mr. Madlanga is supposed to be an impartial chairperson.
Mm-hmm.
He can't be just following what the evidence is being given by any person, without questioning it. So I just wanted to alert him that, it's incorrect for him to say that he's being partial. He's actually impartial. Those questions are got to be asked to give a balanced answer in the end of it all. You see, you recall that I earlier said, soon before the president decided to raise this issue of appointing a commission of inquiry, I said against a whole of Fulabalu of people who were speaking against it because of the past experiences and the amount of money involved. And say, look, it's inevitable in this particular case that he has got to go that route. And I even said it needed for the commission to the widest terms of reference in this particular case. And even it went so far as to say, look, in the interim, it's empowered to make decisions of directing after having weighed the evidence on both sides, that a criminal case be pursued directly. So it's distinct from the previous commissions of inquiry. And my feeling is that in the time allocated for this type of inquiry is too short to deal thoroughly with giving everybody a chance to respond. And it's early days to make judgmental outcomes,
Agreed.
On the
so Phil, I'm going to move on. I need to give others a chance, but I hear what you're saying, and I think from your first point is important. Yes, he's got to ask qualifying questions and clarity. I mean, we do it on air every day, and it doesn't matter what we actually think about it. We just have to ask for clarity. Your final point about the recommendations, and maybe this goes beyond others, I think is a very important point to make a note of, right? Yeah, let's get to further comments from you.
From the hospital, they break down every institution of the government. Yeah. Yo, it's worse, man. We must die in the hospital because there's no medicine. We must die. Yo. It's a big flop.
Okay, got that. Here's another.
Hi. Afternoon, this is Mfike from Bloemfontein. No, my analysis right now, the score is 3-0 against Sbia and Mukunu. My prediction so far, the score, and it looks like we are winning. We are winning. Our predictions are very good. I think the score will be like 15-0 until the end of this commission. 15-0. I predict 15-0, but I'll make sure that I update you every day. Thank you so much.
Give us a scoreline. 3-0. So who scored the goals? That's what I'd like to know. Who has scored the goals to be 3-0 already? Wow.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Veliso here in Cape Town. I hear that you're saying that he's making moves on the commission by instructing or formulating the zonal commission. I just want to tell you that he had no other choice but to do that, because if Kwanazi didn't brief us on that media, nothing would have been done even now. So he had no choice but to do something, even though the results we know that at the end of the day is not going to do anything.
Well, there we are. Look, you're right. I mean, and I think maybe it's a good point to just reflect on. Imagine if Mkonazi did not say anything, because that lends itself to the conversations we have every day on these shows, like this one and others too, to say there's so much happening in the top brass of the leadership of South Africa that compromises South Africa every single day, and we actually know nothing about it. And you just hope and pray that people in positions of power, servant leadership, who understand their role and come out and say it as it is, as has been said now. So if it didn't happen, can you just imagine what would have happened, right? Now, we're going to cross over to Channel Africa as we do every Thursday as part of that crossing. Well, here's a question from, I think it's Mengos in Mpumalanga. Did the caller, Tsepiso, not sound like Advocate Thuli Madonsela to you? No, she didn't. I don't think so. Did you think so? She even referenced Thuli Madonsela in that conversation. No, I don't think so. Not at all. Right, more to come, and we'll connect. We're going to connect now to Channel Africa for the weekly countdown to G20.
This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to journey into the past while shaping the future under the theme Reimagine Our Heritage Institutions for a New Era. We celebrate the stories, traditions, and voices that define who we are as a nation. From vibrant conversations to thought-provoking debates,
It's gone exactly 16 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. As we do every single Thursday, we bring you our special G20 feature between us as Channel Africa and SAFM, the National Pulse hosted by Ashraf Garda. Now, as the countdown to the G20 summit in November is is well underway. Today, we shine the spotlight on South Africa's G20 presidency as well as the priorities of that presidency. And these include strengthening disaster resilience and response, taking action to ensure debt sustainability for low-income countries, mobilizing finance for a just energy transition, as well as harnessing critical minerals for inclusive growth and sustainable development. Now, these have been some of the key issues that South Africa has brought onto the table for the duration of its G20 presidency.
And they certainly are. Thanks for that, Tommy. Good to connect with you once again. And talking about just that, of course, all of this ahead of the general debate of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, which, as you know, has been going on over the last few days. South Africa indicated that the General Assembly affords it an opportunity to amplify its priorities for South Africa's G20 presidency, which, as you know, has the theme of solidarity, equality and sustainability. So I tell you what, before we get to a further conversation, let's play an extract of South Africa's President Ramaphosa addressing the 80th session of the UN General Assembly.
As member states of the United Nations, we have all adopted the Sustainable Development Goals. However, many of these goals remain elusive. There are many reasons that hold many countries back from fulfilling and implementing these development goals. Some of these reasons are lack of sufficient financial resources that can finance the advance that these countries need to make to fulfill those goals. Many countries with developing economies, especially in Africa and the global south, do not have adequate capital to finance their development goals. They are indebted and are paying much more on debt servicing than they do on health and education. In fact, these countries pay much more than countries in the north for their debt. Yet through global solidarity, by having fairer lending rules, especially for several of the global south countries, we can achieve our shared commitment. Through the G20 process, we are working towards building consensus on how this problem can be tackled, including the reform of international financial institutions, particularly multilateral development banks, to better tackle global challenges that many countries face. The multilateral trading system needs to be reformed as we reconfirm that the World Trade Organization remains the only multilateral body that is capable of managing differences and coordinating positions in global trade.
So that was South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa addressing the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. So as we mentioned earlier on, we are going to be focusing on the role of South Africa and its G20 presidency. And to go further deeper into this, we joined this afternoon by Dr. Sizo Mgala, who's Research Fellow at the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. Doctor, a very warm welcome to you. Good to have you with us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tammy, and good afternoon to your listeners. Thank you for having me.
Now, one thing, Doctor, that has been quite clear about South Africa's presidency right from the start is, yes, it is the first time that it is being held on the African continent, but it is not South Africa's G20. It really is Africa's G20. And with that in mind, and perhaps as the premise of our conversation today, if we look at the African Union's priorities, and perhaps more specifically under Agenda 2063, how are South Africa's G20 priorities being reflected within those broader African Union agendas? And how can the African Union, in partnership with South Africa, ensure that these indeed are going to be achieved?
Well, thank you for your question. I think South Africa's G20 priorities, as outlined by President Ramaphosa at the UN summit, I think they are very much a reiteration of the priorities outlined under the AU Agenda 2063. So it's a South African G20, as you stated. And if you look at the priorities, debt sustainability for low-income countries, it's at the center. This is something that is at the center of the African agenda. I think about 14 African countries are under debt distress as we speak. The African continent as a whole, I think they has about $1.4 trillion in external debt, which is way more than Africa's collective export earnings. So this represents, I think, a financial crisis. So some of the countries, I think about 25 countries in Africa, spend more than 10% of their revenue on debt interest payment than they do on, spending more on debt interest payment than they do on such critical services such as health and education. So it's quite a crisis, and it's a relevant issue for South Africa to tackle using the G20 platform. If you look at the disaster resilience and response, it's quite an important issue as well. Africa is affected by natural disasters, floods, droughts, heat waves, earthquakes, which cause untold suffering to millions of African citizens. So while African countries contribute the least to the climate change processes that cause these extreme weather events, they suffer disproportionately when compared to the global north countries. So I think that's an issue that needs to be spotlighted.
Let me come in, Dr. Nkala. One of the things that South Africa's President Ramaphosa made at his UN address, right? He spoke about recent trade trends. So, here's the big question in the build-up to G20. How can South Africa, how can Africa, in fact, truly leverage of the opportunities that may fall its way purely by South Africa being chairing or the G20?
Well, I think it's an opportunity for Africa to present its case for a more fair and a more equitable multilateral trading system, which is under assault, by the way, from primarily the United States under President Donald Trump. So I think Africa has to speak with one voice when it comes to the reform or improvement of multilateral trading system in a way that will enhance inclusive growth and economic resilience on part of African countries and broader developing world. So if you look, this is a historical issue, I think, because when Africa was incorporated into the global economy, it was incorporated under terms that were not of its own, I think, formulation. So the trade terms, the international trade terms under which Africa participates in the global trading system, were not authored by Africa. They are unfair to Africa, and they, I think, perpetuate the disadvantaged position of Africa in the global economy as the supply of raw materials. So that needs to be changed. How it will be changed, no one knows. It will depend, I think, on the negotiations on the G20 platform and also on the World Trade Organization platforms.
One thing, Doctor, is the President made reference of this in his address, and you did too in answering the first question that I asked you a bit earlier on, and this is in reference to the high indebtedness by some states in the global south, as well as the high cost of servicing that debt. Now, if we look at the numbers in many of the poorer countries, servicing of debt is consuming between 10 to 30%, and in many cases even more of their revenues, and in turn this then reduces their ability to be able to spend on health, education, etc. What would you advocate and what is South Africa and the G20 advocating as specific policies or reforms that can be put in place in order for debt relief or the financial stability for these emerging markets to be secured?
I think first there has to be a more effective. I think there needs to be an improvement on the common debt treatment framework that was adopted by the G20 actually in I think it was in 2020. It hasn't proved to be particularly effective in addressing the debt crisis in developing countries. So more discussions must be had on that framework, and it must be improved. Also, I think the reform of the international financial institutions, where African countries and developing countries in general hold the least power. These have to be reformed because the decisions made by these bodies, the IMF, the World Bank, affect African countries and the broader developing world the most. Especially when it comes to interest rates, African countries and developing countries pay way more. I think about 4 times more interest rates than the United States, and then 12 times more interest rates than countries like Germany, which is quite unjust. And these interest rates are based, I think, on one of the major flaws of the international financial system, which relates to the flawed the flawed credit rating systems. This has been an issue that has been raised over and over again. There has to be a reform of the credit rating system globally, because credit ratings agencies profile the risk of African countries on distorted perceptions. So that's why it's becoming increasingly difficult for African countries to access capital on the capital markets, and also that's why African countries are made to pay such exorbitant interest rates, which are not sustainable at all.
Dr. Nkala, let's wrap up with this, right? You know, South Africa has had a clear position around some of the big geopolitical issues of the world. Their position on Israel versus Palestine is well documented. They've also come across as being this non-aligned country between the Ukraine and Russia. So therefore, here's my point. What role has South Africa played using G20 in mediating between developed and developing nations? And if the answer is nothing, what role should it play, but playing it through its leveraging of G20?
Well, I think South Africa has tried its best to assert itself and become the spokesperson of the developing world when it comes to key issues we mentioned earlier. Disaster resilience and response, debt sustainability, financing for just energy transition, and now critical minerals. I think they have tried to make the case for developing countries. Whether the global north listens, I'm not sure. I'm not convinced they're listening. I mean, if you look at President Trump's speech at the United Nations, he was denying climate change in his speech, something that is at the center of South African agenda. I don't think there'll be any agreement there in terms of how to tackle climate change. And the United States pulled out of the Just Energy Transition Program, which was a finance mechanism for South Africa's climate change agenda. They pulled out of that program. So it will be very, very difficult to come to an agreement on that issue. And if you also look at the climate finance, the flow of climate finance from developed countries to developing countries, it hasn't met the expectations. Developed countries have not been forthcoming in terms of availing climate finance to developing countries. And despite the promises that they've made, they made as far back as 2015 at the Paris Climate Conference. So that there is no political will or commitment from the developed countries. So that is something that South Africa has to deal with. Not only South Africa, Africa and the broader developing world. So these are thorny issues.
They certainly are. And as you're highlighting, Dr. Ngala, actually, the United States, I think Argentina is the other country as well, not actually signing that final declaration as far as agriculture is concerned, specifically because of the issues of climate change and not agreeing with that terminology that's being used. But we're going to leave it at that for this afternoon. Doctor, thank you so much for your insight and just putting all of that into perspective for us this afternoon. So much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That's Dr. Sizo Ngala, Research Fellow at the Center for Africa-China Studies with the University of Johannesburg. Thank you so much. Ashraf Garda, always a pleasure, and certainly looking forward to us dissecting the G20 issues once again next week when we reconvene.
And I'll hold you to that. Thanks for that, indeed. Right, let's get to the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the 38-year-old man convicted of the murder of German tourist on the Numbi Road towards the Kruger National Park in 2022 has been sentenced to 25 years imprisonment. Johannesburg Waste Management entity Pick It Up has warned of fraudulent messages circulating on social media claiming to be from its managing director Bukelwa Njingolo and requesting money from recipients. And Sean Diddy Combs is due to appear in the Manhattan court in New York in the U.S. today for a hearing over his bid to set aside a jury verdict finding the hip-hop mogul guilty on prosecution charges. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the R24 westbound has a stationary vehicle after the Edenvale Road exit. The N1 northbound in Centurion, a crash near Old Johannesburg Road, and Beyersnodere Drive in Honeydew has a crash at Blueberry Street. In KZN, on the N2 southbound, a stationary vehicle after Umgeni Road. In Cape Town, the M3 inbound has a crash reported before Hospital Bend. The N1 outbound has a crash after Marine Drive, all lanes are open, and Spine Road in Khayelitsha, queuing at Jafta Kema Samola Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Kapele.
Thomas. Right, to me from netball in the first hour to not cooking up a storm. Let's talk about the Stormers. Now, what is so funny about that?
Inside joke. Let's start things off with rugby.
Comedy hour.
Definitely. Let's start things off with rugby, where John Dobson has named Ruan Nel as Stormers captain for tomorrow's URC opener against defending champions Leinster in Cape Town. Now, the Experience Centre takes the armband in the absence of Sama Murat and Dion Fourie. Nel will partner with Dan du Plessis in midfield, while Leland Zas and Sabelo Snadla providing firepower out wide, while Wandisile Simelane is starting at fullback in the absence of the injured Warwick Galant. 3 players are in line to make their Stormers debut off the bench: 19-year-old prop Ollie Reid and loose forward Ruan Ackerman and fly half Clinton Swart. In football, Orbit College captain Atisa Mbadzi says that they breathed a collective sigh of relief when their home ground Olympia Park was cleared for usage. Orbit played in front of their home fans for the second time yesterday, claiming one win over Polokwane City. Now, they have been forced to use Dobson Stadium in Soweto, and Batsi believes that this shift could have been one of the factors contributing to the difficult start to life in the Betway Premiership, as they practically played away from home in every match. Meanwhile, Kaizer Chiefs co-coach Khalil Ben Yusuf says that he's not concerned about their struggles over the last 3 matches, saying that he prefers to focus on positives despite failing to win.
We discussed in the meeting before the game the importance of this game to come back first for the confidence for the team. Second, also the opportunity to come back in the first or the second position. Like I said, the performance was good today, but the result wasn't. We have to continue to work and to think forward. Now this game is finished. We have to think about next game. For us today, this season, every game is cup game. We have to play to win every game. Then the result, inshallah, will be better.
Elsewhere, just over 2 years since moving to Bayern Munich, informed striker Harry Kane can set yet another record in tomorrow's clash with Werder Bremen. Playing his 104th game for Bayern, Kane needs just 2 goals to become the fastest man to 100 goals with the club in Europe's top 5 leagues, breaking the record of 105 matches jointly held by Cristiano Ronaldo and Erling Haaland. Now, Kane is already the fastest to 50 Bundesliga goals, bringing that mark up in 43 matches, a record that he also took from the Norway striker. Kane made his Bundesliga debut back in August 2023 against Bremen, scoring a goal and setting up another in a 4-0 win just days after arriving from boyhood club Tottenham Hotspur. In 4 matches against Bremen, Kane has 4 goals and 3 assists. And on Saturday, Kane scored his 9th Bundesliga hat-trick and his 2nd so far this season. In tennis, Jannik Sinner beat Croatia's Marin Cilic 6-2 and 6-2 to cruise into round 2 in Beijing on his first showing since losing the US Open final. Next at the China Open, the world number 2 faces Italy. The world number 2 from Italy faces qualifier Terence Atmain of France. And finally, in motorsport, Marc Marquez says that he wanted to celebrate his second life in MotoGP by clinching his first world title since 2019 this weekend in Japan. After nightmare struggles with the injuries, the Spanish Ducati rider can win his 7th world title if he finishes the weekend in Motegi with at least 3 more points than his brother and nearest championship rival Alex Marquez. The 32-year-old is back on top after an injury saga that began when he broke his right arm in 2020 and almost convinced him to hang up his helmet. Ashraf, before I leave, I actually heard a voice note from one of our listeners, specifically to me, just saying that she's quite happy with the South African team that went to compete at the World Athletics Championships. I think specifically she's talking about how the 4x400 relay team brought back that bronze, and she's just saying that she's very happy with how we are doing in terms of athletics. And I think for me, I was doing the sports show on Monday. I was saying, yes, we are happy with winning that bronze. However, I feel like I expected South Africa to do even better. I mean, we sent a team of 49 athletes to the world champs. We only came back with 1 medal.
So you're saying in terms of 1 versus 49, the return's very poor?
I think it's very poor. I expected more. And I mean, some people are saying maybe because Bayanda Walaza was injured, that's why they didn't do well. But I think I expected Akani Simbini to at least come back with a medal. Quite unfortunate for Prudence Khodiso, remember, with her leg.
And she really cried.
For me, I'm just like, look at Botswana. I mean, they came back with how many medals? And for me, I'm like, I would assume that our facilities are somehow in a better state. Just looking at...
Well, you assume, right. I mean, that's the age-old problem with South African sport across the board. We've hosted... The fact that this country can have hosted the Cricket World Cup, the Rugby World Cup, and the FIFA 2010 World Cup, besides anything else, is remarkable.
Yeah.
Right? And yet, we can't really deliver excellence beyond certain sports across the board. So there's something seriously wrong. And there could be question marks about the Minister of Sport soon.
If he's still going to be Minister of Sport.
Spar brings you 4 days of even more. From 25 to 28 September. Get 1.8-litre Dairy-Made Country Fresh ice cream. Any 2 for 100. Save 54 Rand. Or 500 gram Spar Butter Brick for 54.99. Save 35 Rand. It's 4 days of even more. Only at Spar. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Power, land, loyalty, blood. In the heart of Montana, the fight for the Dutton Ranch is far from over. Betrayals cut deep, enemies close in, and every choice could be their last. Yellowstone, Season 4, where family is everything and nothing is off limits. Every Tuesday, starting September 2nd at 7 p.m, only on S3. S3, open up.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right. As always, we have Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers with us. Makwe, you've got news about Ethos Capital, right?
Yes, Ashraf, this is an investment holding company with exposure to both unlisted and listed portfolios. And the unlisted portfolios like Pre-Media delivered robust results with the last 12 months revenue and overall financial performances, EBITDA increasing significantly. The guys reduced debt by 440 million to 82 million and the net asset value per share up 22%. Ashraf, the current tech rally is very impressive though worrisome. And let's hope it's not another .com bubble which bested in the year 2000, and the Fed chair said there's no risk-free path for the central bank as it weighs risk from both inflation and a cooling labor market. These remarks reinforced expectations that they will remain cautious in adjusting interest rates. Hence, tomorrow's release of the August consumer personal consumption expenditure in the U.S. is very important, and that is for more signs on interest rates path into the year end. And our August producer price inflation ticked up to 2.1% compared to July's 1.5%, a third month in a row of increases. Ashraf, food continues to be the main culprit. Oil pulled back from 7-week high as more traders took profits as stocks are trading low and in anticipation of slower winter demand. And we see Brent crude is down 1.7% at $67 a barrel. The yellow metal still trading near record highs, supported by raised geopolitical tensions and expectations of lower interest rates. We see gold is down 0.1% at 3,727, but platinum is up 1% at 1,495. Global markets are in the negative as traders are concerned over stretch valuations and doubts about the pace of interest rates, and the local pulse is down 0.6%. The dollar extended gains, and we see the rand is trading at 17.41 against the US dollar. That is down 0.5%, 23.28 against the pound, and 20.34 against the euro.
Right, perfect. Thanks for that, Makwe. And a reminder, we'll have the markets in detail, 1 hour of that from 6 to 7 this evening. And could I call it Tuesday? Or is it Thursday? Or is it Monday? I'm all confused. Anyway, Thursday it certainly is, and that comes up 6 to 7. We'll get, in fact, we'll talk about electricity, power, energy, not the lack thereof after this.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Right, so here's an interesting thought. The Minister of Electricity and Energy, well, I suppose he's been full of energy today, understandably so. That's Dr. Ramokgopa. He briefed the media, spoke about interventions to end load reduction. It's a point amplified even by the chairperson of Eskom, Mteto Nyeti, about just where they are and believing that they've in a position where they are so on track to fix the issues of load shedding and load reduction, if not permanently, to a large degree, to the point that it was unthinkable, in fact, like a year or so ago. So, first of all, the minister spoke about, and here's an interesting thing, the multiple manifestations of the energy deficit.
Yeah, I did make the point previously that we are going to ensure that we address the multiple manifestations of the energy deficit, the electricity deficit in the country. The preeminent one was on the aggregate side, when we failed to aggregate generation, could not meet the aggregate demand, resulting in bouts of load shedding. And as we have reported previously, is that we have turned the corner. We are not about to turn the corner, we have turned the corner on the resolution of load shedding. And I said to the country that I'll be the first one to stand before the nation and state boldly that we have ended load shedding. And that before that time comes, I want to say that we are doing everything possible to eliminate it. So you can see that we are achieving exceptional results at the height of load shedding in 2023 early, around February, March. We had the energy availability factor, that is the performance of the generation fleet, was sitting at about 48%. And now, as I speak to you, we're consistently above 70%. And I'm confident that we'll continue to push that number up. And hence, you see that the lights remain on.
Well, Interestingly, the minister then said that, and look at this number, right? 38% of South Africa's total load reduction. And I know we can play with names, whether it's, energy reduction or load shedding. But in this case here, 38% of the country's total load reduction is impacted in one province only, Gauteng.
Let me start this way, 38% of the total amount of load reduction in this country is in Gauteng. And this is found in the informal settlement as a result of growth, proliferation, informality, and the inability of municipality to keep up with the demand for electricity infrastructure expansion. You find that there's increased illegal connection. And like I said, the informal settlements. And then what do ESCOM and the municipalities do to protect that infrastructure? They initiate the load reduction. So if you like, the center of gravity of this load reduction is in Gauteng, then followed by Limpopo. So we've seen that there are villages after village in Limpopo where there's load reduction. And I'll show you the numbers, where these towns are, where these municipalities are, and then we've gone down to the level of a ward. And I'll tell you when are we going to start, when do we expect to end. Of course, I do qualify that, is that going into that space is a function of how you are received by communities. We know, for an example, that highly likely, when we go to the more rural areas, the level of cohesion and discipline is relatively higher than the township. What do I mean by that? The entry point in the rural villages, we go through the chiefs. And then there's an orderly way in which we engage with communities. When you come to the more urban, peri-urban settlements, informality, you've got voices that are profiting out of illegal connection. And they are the ones who are likely going to stop us from engaging communities so that we are able to roll out this infrastructure. So we're expecting the greatest resistance in the more urban areas and a relatively free access in the more rural areas.
Now, finally, and we hear this so often, many people believe that the issue of load reduction discriminates against people on an income basis, where, the lower the income, the larger the discrimination. It's a point that the minister answered to.
What is common is that there are periods in the day where they don't have electricity. But also what is more worrying about load reduction, it's got an appearance of discrimination on an income basis. So essentially you will see when I map the prevalence of load reduction in the country, the density or the concentration of load reduction is in poor areas. And it gives an impression that we are penalizing the poor, those who can afford, and of course those who are affluent, the rich, who have a voice, are let scot-free. And it's something that we are soiling our message in relation to the efforts we are making to ensure that we are able to provide electricity to everyone on a continuous, uninterrupted basis, 24/7, 365 days a year. So now today I'm announcing we are ending load reduction. So I repeat, we are ending load reduction. The period we have set ourselves is anything between 12 to 18 months, but it can be exceptionally shorter than that. And I'll explain to you why that 18 months period, because it's a function of how we get to be received by communities. And I'll tell you how we are going to address that situation. So I want to say to the country, we will end load reduction if there's absolute cooperation by communities. We'll end it in the next 12 months. And in areas where we experience resistance, we'll invest time and effort to engage with everyone. And in that instance, then we might push it further by another six months. But I want to say to the country that we are going to end load reduction in the next 12 months. Once we get that cooperation, there are parts of the country where we are confident we'll get that cooperation. There are parts of the country where we know it's going to be difficult. And I'll share with you what
Well, an interesting point made there. He didn't say we have ended load reduction. He said we are ending load reduction, and then qualified it further by saying we would look to end it in a year's time if we get the corporation. We'll get your response on that. We'll also get an energy expert to comment on that after 5 o'clock. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, because this is the National Pulse, and it's driven largely by two components. One is the actual news agenda that sets the agenda. And then the second part is how it resonates to you and how you feed off it and how you comment. So you drive the National Pulse. What does your pulse tell you right now? I'll take your calls after this.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Right. We touched on the Patriotic Alliance earlier, didn't we? In a way, with the Minister of Sport, right?
Good afternoon, Mr. A. I think, Mr. A, probably next week, can you try to get one of the leaders of the PA so that they can explain what is actually going on there? Sometimes I heard yesterday on the news that the guy, Kenny Kunene, is going down to Cape Town to live there permanently. But on the other hand, she wants to be mayor of Joburg, so there's some wishy-washy things going on there. So it would be nice to get one of the leaders. They must come on radio to explain. Pastor Cape Town.
Thanks for that, Pastor. But listen, let me get my memory right, and if I'm wrong, correct me. One is, as you know, Kenny Kunene was suspended by his own party, then reinstated a few days ago, and they've said that if he's not reinstated in his position at the Joburg City Council, then they would pull out of the council. That's the first thing from the Patriotic Alliance. Then yesterday, and if I've got it right, the leader of the PA, Gayton McKenzie, said, and he was referencing, predominantly coloured townships that have had the brunt of no water. I'm talking about, Coronationville, Westbury, in Joburg, right? And suggesting like that's not good enough. We are calling it a day with regard to our coalition in Joburg. Okay, that's coalition, right? And then saying we will serve notice to pull out of the GNU. So that's how I see it. I wonder if you see it any differently, and what's really going to happen next with that party. There's more.
Ashraf, good afternoon. On the issue of the lady sounding like Thuli Madonsela, Ashraf, I think the caller is quite right. It's not the first time I hear Tsepitso coming to SFM, and the voice sounds like Thuli Madonsela. Yes, it's not Thuli Madonsela, but the voice sounds exactly like Thuli Madonsela. Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've never known Thuli Madonsela making the news only on the basis that somebody sounds like her. As you said, it's not her, it just sounds like her.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I want to agree 99% with the caller who called to say Tshepiso talks like Thuli Madonsela. Indeed, she mimics Thuli Madonsela very perfectly so. Great show, Ashraf. Thank you, Levi from Mafeking, Northwest.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the show. All it needs now is for us to get two calls back to back, one from Tshepiso and the other from Professor Thuli Madonsela. Then we can make out the difference, or actually get them to talk to each other. Strange things happen, right?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I think it's very unfair to the people who are being accused here, because they never really get an opportunity to cross-examine the accusers, so that one can really be sure of what they're saying, that it is really true. They will only come in to give their version, but they never got the opportunity to cross-examine the accusers. That's an unfair part of the whole process.
Well, thanks for that. But that's why we're saying, whatever's happened now, allegations, none of them are proven, not at all at this point in time. Just by the way, talking about proven, the former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has been sentenced to 5 years in jail. Now, he was found guilty of criminal conspiracy in a case related to millions of euros of illicit funds from, wait for it, the late Libyan leader, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. Let's move on to Zilla.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. Mr. Ashraf, you see, I hope like people of Johannesburg can vote for Helen Zille. They must not play like the race card. You see, he can change a lot there. Have you ever been to Johannesburg CBD? You'll struggle to walk. They're selling these second-hand clothes everywhere. There's not even a space to walk. Helen Zille can fix that. Even this illegal foreign, Helen Zille can fix that. Don't doubt the lady. I'm not even a member of DA or any political matter for that matter, but I know she can fix that.
Let me ask you this. What's wrong with selling second-hand clothes? There are big businesses globally that does that, that resale. In fact, you can sell second-hand cars. I'm just asking.
Ashraf in the SFF now. Ashraf, can you please just tell Mukwanasi, if it was me who's going to prosecute or to judge, I wouldn't disappoint you, Mr. Mukwanasi. I would even Zondo Commission, the people wouldn't be disappointed if it was me. If maybe they can put me in power, maybe I was in power. I would prosecuting each and every big Tom and Harry, whichever is implicated there. Now the country will be very free, very free.
Okay, you're making a pitch for power, I see, putting you in power, trying to imagine that situation, right? Here's another.
Hey, did Gayton McKenzie actually threaten to leave the GNU? I'm hearing from your sports presenter saying if he will be the Minister of Sports. So I'm just trying to understand the significance of that. If you can get us Gayton to come and explain himself, what does he mean? Just because he wants Kenny Kunene in Joburg. Thanks, it's Bongi here from the beautiful Johannesburg.
From the beautiful Western Cape of others to the beautiful Johannesburg. That's wonderful. Listen, I'll tell you what, let me see if I can get Keys or Temba just to dig out some of the sound from Gayton McKenzie yesterday, where he effectively gave intention to say we will withdraw from the coalition in Joburg, as well give notice to withdraw from the GNU as well.
Hi, Ashraf. This is Galen Quebera, Port Elizabeth, one of your fans. Thanks for a lovely show. Listen, there's two gentlemen that called in about, or three gentlemen that phoned in about Thuli Madonsela. They cannot be further than the truth. It is so wrong. I mean, they've got to have problems with their hearings. Thuli Madonsela has a very distinctive voice, and they don't sound at all alike. So I'm sorry to differ. Okay, bye.
Someone who has spoken to Thuli Madonsela on air, but also spoken to her in person and off air, telechat, I would concur with you. I never thought for a second that she sounds like her. But then, hey, who am I to know? Others think better. We'll hear them. For Yizwa in Parktown North, let's talk about the commission.
Yes, you know what, Ashraf, what I'm picking up, the way I was listening to Major Petronella, and I've listened to Masemola and Kwananzi. I think this their evidence is just the same. And for me, for people to doubt when we have so much evidence, I don't understand. Yes, we can say it's allegations, but the truth is that there is smoke, there is fire, and there's smoke. Yeah, it's not just things they are picking up in the street, because you can hear the dates and everything what happened. It's only that this crime syndicate, I think so many people are involved into it. That's why you get so much resistance. Some don't know whether it's what. Kwana shouldn't have done this. But there is always someone who will bear the cat.
Okay, I hear you, but of course, at the moment, these are allegations, these strong allegations.
Yes, I understand.
They can't be convicted on that basis. I'm sure you understand.
It's so overwhelming. Yeah. The evidence is so overwhelming.
All right.
Yeah,
got that. Thanks for that, Voyiza, with your contribution from Parktown North. There's more contribution. Let me tell you, so we did talk about energy, and we will talk about that and try and understand it from Chris Yallen's point in terms of what was said by the Minister of Electricity and Energy. Then we'll also get reaction regarding Julius Mkwanazi taking special leave, right? So, and that, of course, is a result of so many things boiling over here in our country. But first things first, it's 5 o'clock. It's time for the news with Greg.
Thank you, Ashraf. In this news update, Kruger Park tourist killer is sentenced and P. Diddy to appear in Manhattan court. Good day to you. The man convicted of the murder of a German tourist on the Numbi Road towards the Kruger National Park in 2022 has been sentenced to 25 years in prison. Napoleon Nyalunga was sentenced in the Mpumalanga division of the High Court, sitting in Mbumbela. The tourist was shot through the window of the minibus he was driving. He was travelling with his wife and two others when they were attacked. The judge, Brian Mashile, delivered the sentence through an electronic voice generator.
25 years for murder, 10 years for attempted robbery with aggravating circumstances, 3, 7 years for possession of unlicensed firearm, 4, 2 years for possession of ammunition, 5. The sentences in 2, 3 and 4 above shall run concurrently with that in 1.
Johannesburg waste management entity Pick It Up has warned of fraudulent messages circulating on social media claiming to be from its managing director and requesting money from recipients. Pick It Up has confirmed she has not authorised any such requests or asked for funds or payments from stakeholders or members of the public through private messages or social media platforms. Pick It Up's Musim Kwenazi.
These false and fraudulent messages are circulated via WhatsApp and the short message service SMS. The matter has been reported to the South African Police Service. Pick It Up appeals to anyone who receives such fraudulent messages not to respond, transfer money, or provide personal details, and to report the contact to the authorities.
The trial of former Kruger National Park Regional Ranger Rodney Landella and his co-accused has been adjourned to November at the Skakuza Regional Court in Mpumalanga. Landella and his co-accused, a state veterinary technician, appeared in court for alleged rhino poaching. They were arrested after a rhino was killed and dehorned at the Kruger Park in 2016. 2 pairs of bloodied shoes and an axe were found in the accused vehicle, which was stopped after they fled the scene. The court also heard that a hunting rifle issued to Landella and 2 rhino horns were discovered not far from where the accused was arrested. The Gauteng Health MEC, Nomantun Komalarehoko, says the inspection of spaza shops is continuing to ensure they're compliant and meet health and safety regulations. This comes after more than 800 cases of foodborne illnesses were reported in the province last year. The MEC was speaking at the commemoration of World Environmental Health in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. The MEC says environmental health remains a top priority in preventing communicable diseases. Finally, Sean Diddy Coombs is due to appear in a Manhattan court in New York in the US today for a hearing over his bid to set aside a jury's verdict, finding the hip-hop mogul guilty on prostitution charges. He faces up to 20 years in prison if the July conviction stands. The top story, the man convicted of the murder of a German tourist on the Numbi Road towards the Kruger National Park has been sentenced to 25 years in prison. And that's SAFM News. I'm Greg Coase.
In sports, the Summer Baby Proteas geared up for Netball World Youth Cup quarterfinals today, nailed to lead the Stormers in URC opener. Ansana eases past Chellish to launch China Open title bid. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound slow moving towards Boysens, the N3 southbound in Germiston slow moving towards Geldenhuys interchange, and the R24 westbound, a stationary vehicle reported after the Edenvale Road exit. In KZN, on the N2 northbound, a stationary vehicle after Spaghetti Junction queuing traffic. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound in Woodstock has a stationary vehicle reported at Lower Church Street. On High Level Road outbound in Greenpoint, there's a crash at Ocean View Road, and on Main Road northbound, slow-moving traffic reported at Cork Bay. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So Energy Minister Minister Ramaphosa saying government has turned the corner on energy issues or load shedding. You know, often you find pronouncements being made by people in government and we say, hey, where's the proof? Give us the proof. In this case, I mean, by and large, we've had a couple of hiccups this year, but overall, since that last election, and everybody thought it would change on May 30th, remember, that hasn't happened. We've actually had an amazing run around energy supply, but that is notwithstanding others who feel that never mind we don't call it load shedding, load reduction certainly applies and is affecting many other communities that maybe you and I are not aware of, and it's happening with power being, off in some way for a good number of days at a time. Having said that, they're very clear from the minister to say, in fact, even load reduction as we know it will end, and then saying it'll end in a year's time. Let's try and understand the different pronouncements made by the Minister of electricity and energy. With me is Chris Yelland, who's an energy expert. Chris, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you. So first of all, what's your overall assessment of today's briefing in terms of what was said or what was not said regarding, for us, two issues, load reduction and load shedding?
Yeah, the Minister highlighted actually three issues that he is tackling. One that is largely completed, and that is the issue of load shedding. We've seen a dramatic reduction in the intensity and frequency of load shedding. And to all intents and purposes, it seems to have come to an end. Now he's moved on to the next issue, and that is so-called load reduction. Now, load reduction and load shedding, from a customer's perspective, feel the same. It basically means that you go for some hours without power every day. But in fact, they are two completely different causes of power losses. And one is due to shortages of generation. The other is due to capacity constraints in the distribution network. And now that is the issue that he is dealing with, because a lot of areas, mainly poorer areas, where there has been rapid urbanization and where there's high levels of electricity theft, are experiencing this load reduction, overloading of the distribution network, which forces them to switch off power during certain hours of the day, the peak hours of the day. And this is what his focus has been. And the third issue that he intends to tackle once this is resolved is the price of electricity, which has gone up by about 900% in the last decade or so. So those are the three issues, and the current one on the table, to which the Minister is applying his mind very aggressively, very assertively, and with great confidence, is to bring an end to this load reduction. And he outlined a series of initiatives to do that will achieve this, hopefully in 18 months.
Yeah. Now, he said a lot of things. You've just repeated many of it, but what do you feel about it? How convincing are they, in terms of pronouncements, and what does the data tell us?
Yeah, look, it will have to require a serious focus for an extended period of time. And I think that it is possible to do what the Minister has said if one addresses this as a holistic, in a holistic manner. There is no single silver bullet to this problem, and it has to be addressed in a number of ways. And it needs to be done across the country. Now, you can't do it all at once, so one has to tackle the areas where where there is very high levels of load reduction taking place at present, and then move to areas that are have less load reduction. In other words, to focus on the low-hanging fruit and the biggest opportunities first. And he's outlined, 4 different areas of focus to achieve this. Firstly, and that is to upgrade infrastructure, distribution infrastructure, which has been seriously neglected over the years. Inadequate investment, inadequate maintenance, inadequate refurbishment of aging plant. So it's going to require significant upgrades. The thing is, that this is going to cost a significant amount of money, and it needs to be addressed primarily in areas where there has been a rapid urbanization, where the infrastructure has not kept pace. The upgrading of the infrastructure, increasing transformer capacity, lines, cables, etc., has just not kept pace with population growth as a result of urbanization. So that's the first thing. Second area of focus is to cut, to make a serious impact in reducing illegal connections and theft of electricity, because that is what is causing a lot of the overloading. Electricity theft, where people are not paying for electricity, they don't use it sparingly, there's no incentive to use it sparingly, they're not paying for the electricity, so it's not used wisely. And so one has to really put a lot of attention into this. And this is a problem that has been kicked down the can has been kicked down the road for more than a decade. So he's really identified this as an area. The third area, of course, is the rollout of smart meters. This is going to assist in this, in the reduction of illegal, theft of electricity. But on its own, it's not the solution, because You can put in a meter, but you've also got to address levels of fraud, bypassing of meters, the connections, illegal connections before the meter even. So meters are part of the solution, but they're not the answer to all the problems. And lastly, what he calls distributed generation. That is rooftop solar PV, battery energy storage at a local level on houses, dwellings, even amongst poorer, households, which up to now have not really applied rooftop solar PV because it's been quite expensive. The prices have become coming down, and he sees this as an important opportunity. Rooftop solar PV, battery storage, and so-called microgrids. These are small micro distribution networks at a local level, villages, in remote areas. So I do believe, I think he's showing a high degree of confidence, assertiveness, aggression in dealing with this problem, much more than his predecessor, Minister Mantashe, ever did. I mean, many of these problems have been just neglected for years and years and years. The minister is getting stuck in, and I really admire him for this.
Okay, because I mean, in a strange way, we've got a new minister, we've got a new CEO, relatively new, and we've also had a new chairperson of the Eskom board. So in fact, 3 significant changes in the last year or so, right? And they, of course, the claim made is that we have turned the corner. So all things considered, and nothing's perfect here, do you get a sense that in fact that corner has been turned? And I mean, the only corner that turns that matters is the one that's a permanent turn, right?
Look, there have been significant improvements, but there are also glaring areas which still have to be worked on. I mean, for example, at Eskom, yes, there has been a significant improvement in the operational performance of Eskom generation plant. But there are severe inadequacies at the transmission and distribution level that need to be dealt with. There are severe financial issues at Eskom which persist. The level of debt is extremely high. The level of municipal money owed to Eskom is extremely high. These are issues that haven't yet been dealt with. The whole financial viability of Eskom, the electricity prices, the massive price increases, still is something that has got to be dealt with. The whole municipal electricity distribution industry, so it's not just an Eskom issue. I mean, this now is a municipal electricity issue, is a burning problem that has to be addressed. So I think there has been significant progress, especially in Eskom generation. But there are many, many other issues that have to be dealt with. And what I like about the minister is that he's not shy about confronting these issues head on. Not kicking the can down the road and pretending that all is well, but actually getting stuck in and dealing with it.
I mean, this may sound trivial to the general audience, but I do find, having had the privilege of knowing him before and meeting him on a one-on-one, he is amongst the most energized ministers we've got, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, he brings, I've said this before, but he brings a new energy into the Ministry of Energy. I mean, the kind of energy that he demonstrates is very, very different from that of his predecessor. It's refreshing. Of course, one can criticize. Of course, nothing is perfect. But he's really demonstrating a new energy and a new commitment that I find very refreshing.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Chris Yellen, I'm sure we'll talk again soon. Hopefully more good news rather than bad. Chris Yellen reflecting on important media briefing by the Minister of Energy, of Electricity and Energy. We're talking of Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, and they're saying they've turned the corner with regard to Eskom. What do you say?
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
I'm looking at some of your comments. Gayton McKenzie once said the Mahambe chance to the DA when the DA wanted to leave the GNU. I wish the DA can sing to him the same chance. That comes from Brian Mabaya from Protea Glen. In fact, that conversation we had earlier, and some people asked questions, what actually did Gayton McKenzie say that suggests that they may be pulling out of the GN? So listen to this.
And we will form a coalition with the DA. I'm telling you today, we don't have that thing of now we'll never work with the DA in next election. We will form a coalition with the DA if they're going to treat us like that, that's ANC. We can't allow them to treat us like that. They probably think because I'm a minister, they can do what they like with the PA. Eka. You guys got men jokes. show us you don't put Kenny Kunene back, we will leave every coalition we have with the ANC, starting with JB Marks. Within 7 days, if Kunene is not back in his position, every PA member in JB Marks, every PA coalition with the ANC, you withdraw with immediate effect. Stay 1 day, 1 hour after instruction has gone out, that you must withdraw from every coalition we have with the ANC. We are not going to be told by Dada. Who does Dada think he is? I said every coalition, you withdraw. I want to see one patriot that shows us after the SG sends you a message to say withdraw. You still didn't see that thing within 1 hour. Ons wat nie getel na ons nie. Who does this mayor of Joburg think he is?
Okay, strong words, right? Talking about the coalition. I think in a separate point he made about the GNU too. But now here's an interesting one. Mzonele Manye tweeting saying, "Who will blink first? We wait and see. Who is the real tiger? Who is the paper tiger? Let me get some popcorn." And he's got a picture of two people, Cyril Ramaphosa and Gayton McKenzie. And of course, Gayton then tweeted or subtweeted him, or quote tweeted him, in fact, saying, "I see what you are trying to do here. In the event that we leave the GNU, the party," and it's got the hashtag ons Baizani, right, "shall still vote for Cyril Ramaphosa against your motion. I serve under him, and our disagreement with the ANC doesn't change our belief that the president is doing a great job in changing South Africa. Are you confused? Believe it or not."
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Right, let's get to calls from, we go to Boshoff, we go Hitler from Boshoff. Go for it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf.
Good afternoon.
Ashraf, I just want to remind South Africans, they are very quick to forget. On the 21st of February, 2025, it was on a Friday, you interviewed Justice Dumisani Teresa. You still remember, Ashraf?
Just remind me.
It was on the 21st of February.
Yeah.
It was on a Friday.
Oh, January. Sorry, I thought you said, okay, got that, yeah,
No, February.
right.
It was February. Chief
Okay.
Justice Dumisani Teresa said in 2003, when the TRC report was released, the NPA must begin to prosecute about 300 cases, and some required further investigation by the NPA functionaries, namely Advocate Wisipi Koli. But the Minister of Justice during that time, it was Bridget Nabanka. He instructed them not to continue, which simply told them that no, there was political interference from the ANC ministers. And during that time, Thabo Mbeki was the president. Now, it tells you how the ministers of ANC act. It can be a commission of inquiry, the NPA, everywhere they interfere. And lastly, you ask him what is his favorite code, and he said the Minister of Justice are driving slowly, but are driving exceedingly fine. But it was Justice Dumisani Teresa.
Well,
so it takes us back to what is happening currently now. The Minister Senzo Mkulu interfered within the technocrats of the Minister of Police.
Well, okay, Hitler, thanks for bringing it up, Hitler. I tell you what, I mean, you're right. We had that very interesting conversation. It's the Fireside Chat, and I would suggest that people listen to it. It's available as a podcast, but maybe, just maybe, between Keys and Temba and Vusani, we pick out a clip or two from what he said then and see if we can play it, not today, maybe in the next day or two on the show with reference to that all-important commission. So, Hitler, thank you for that. And let's move on. And there are developments in Ekurhuleni. We'll talk about that next.
The soundtrack of your life with Ernest Pillay.
They were more than just songs. They were the backdrop to your best days and the ones that change everything. The soundtrack of your life with me, Ernest Pillay, brings you iconic classics and hidden gems that spoke to your heart then and still do now. Whether you're driving, relaxing, or just remembering, let the music take you right back. The soundtrack of your life. With Ernest Pillay, it's about your past, your story, and it's all right here on your favorite station, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 p.m.
This is SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Right, developments certainly have taken place. We asked that question the other day about, as this commission inquiry kicks in, what happens next? And, can people be prosecuted even just by virtue of their names being mentioned, right? Well, there are developments, right? And amongst them, significant news of Julius Mkhwanazi taking special leave amid the allegations of ties to Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. So just to confirm then, of course, he's been the acting Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department Chief, Julius Mkhwanazi, applying for special leave following the damning allegations made by the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. This represents perhaps the first shift already, without waiting for anybody else to take charge here. Let's get a reaction from Alderman Jaco Terblanche, the DA spokesperson for community safety within the city of Ekurhuleni. Alderman Terblanche, appreciate you connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you and to your listeners. It's a privilege for me to be part of your show.
Thank you so much. Right, what do you make of this application for special leave by the acting Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department Chief?
It's a step in the right direction. It's something that should have happened a long time. It's a long time coming. There is allegations now for the last 2 years, if you go back in the media space, his name pop up the whole time regarding the Blue Light Brigade, where vehicles were allegedly illegally being transferred from Cat Matlala's VIP Cat to the Metro and back to VIP Cat. So it's a step in the right direction. I just walked out of a full council meeting now. The ANC is busy in a caucus. The next item on the agenda is to suspend him, to ask that he's been suspended and that the disciplinary hearings being done against him. So that's the next item on the agenda, and that's what I believe should happen. Because if you are on special leave, you can still come in and make changes to investigations. But if you are suspended, you need to stay off the property.
Okay, so how do you get to a situation since you'd push for suspension? How does that process happen?
There's currently a motion going to serve where we ask for a full investigation and ask the acting city manager to start looking into the disciplinary processes, and that includes suspension.
Yeah. And I suppose with an issue like this, an emotion, you always look at the numbers and see whether they stack up. I mean, how confident would you be?
I'm quietly confident. Most of the parties indicate they support the motion. It was just very surprised that the ANC went out for a caucus now. The only party that indicated from the start they're not going to support it is the EFF. So it looks like the full of council is supporting this step. So yeah, I'm quite confident that the motion will go through.
Okay, let's just take a step back. I mean, as you said, there's been lots of allegations for a couple of years, and people remember and people forget. Of course, it comes up at the commission, and that's a reminder once again. But from your understanding, what actually has he done that we need reminding of?
When he was the director for specialized units, he done allegedly a fraudulent MIU with a company called VIP Cat. That company were appointed for helping with the protection of high politicians in the metro. So there was no official approval that I could have found in the last 2-3 years regarding that. So what also happened is VIP Cat had black BMWs like the Metro have with blue lights on it. That's fitted by them. It's been transferred over into the fleet of the Metro. There's also allegations been made that some vehicles of VIP Cat is still being used by the Metro. and we need a full investigation to clear that, to ensure that that is not happening, and that the vehicle, the fleet in the metro, is the metro's vehicles and no private security company involved as well.
As someone who's, is very much part of the council in that region, I mean, what impact has this had on the morale of, councillors and elected officials on the one hand, but also the community that makes up part of that community? I'm talking about before now. What impact has it had on them and their morale?
I just want to go one step back, and then I will include what your question is. We must remember that IPID bring out a report where they asked for a disciplinary hearing against Director Mkhwanazi. There is an IPID report with a docket number on it, and currently the docket is still with the MPA in investigations, according to my information and sources. The morale of the metro have become very negative. It shows that you can get away with criminal activities. So we get more and more metro police officers that do the wrong thing, that bribing people, that is assaulting residents. So you're getting from a resident side, you're starting getting a fear. If you go into a roadblock, is this genuine roadblock, or am I going to be forced to pay a bribe or pay koelrank money, like Dave's saying, to get out of this situation? So it creates a situation of fear and of mistrust, and the residents don't trust the metro police. There's no that trust. They fear them, and they do not believe that the metro police is there to protect them.
How overall, how would this then impact? And I know there's investigations, there's allegations, there's stepping aside, there's suspensions. I get all of that, right? But the ultimate issue has got to be service delivery to the people of a certain community. Now, here's the broader question then, and it's hypothetical to a large degree. The commission, we were asking the question that has it kickstarted a process of complete change even before considerations are taken whether elected officials who may be named or members of the police service, for example, may be named, would be actually taken to court in the first place. That means prosecuted.
The commission brings stuff out, and that allegations that the commission came out with acting chief of police, Julius Mkhwanazi, has just been there for already. Everybody knew about it, and it came out at the commission. You could have now start pushing and put processes of council forward. Previously, you were stopped at the city manager's office and saying, it's only allegations, bring the proof. And it was a being protected situation. With this coming out of at the commission, and it looks like South Africa sees this commission as a very important entity to clean out our police service. It gives credibility now to the accusations. Now suddenly people want to investigate. We need to look into this. This is very, very important. It's not just allegations. And I'm always saying where there's allegations, there must be some sort of truth in it. So at this stage it's not allegations, but I'm quite confident that investigation report will be positive regarding this.
So with that in mind, and let's conclude with this. At the time when the inquiry was set up, right, there were many people who felt that there was no need for an inquiry because nothing ever happens regarding inquiries. What should have happened is people who are identified should actually be, hauled before the courts, prosecuted and convicted if found guilty. Do you find that so far, just 1 week into the inquiry, there should be a rethink in terms of those who are critical of it need to look at the processes that are being, opened up here and unfolding?
I definitely. We are 1 week from the inquiry, so a lot of things happened in 1 week. It shows positives at this stage. It depends on how we're ending up with this inquiry. A lot of things happened in previous inquiries, and we started were very positive, and we are cleaning out corruption. But at the end of the day, it was just a talk shop. So the same with this process. It needs to go through, even if the motion in council carried tonight and he gets suspended, the investigation report needs to come back to council, and that we need to follow up on the processes, and that needs to happen. And then I will say, yes, this inquiry are making a difference.
Okay.
Yeah. Time will tell us.
Time will tell. Alderman Jaco Tablanche, the DA spokesperson for community safety in the city of Ekurhuleni. Thank you for connecting with us on the National Pulse. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Greg Hoos.
In the headlines, the Mahlanga Commission has heard that Senzo Mkunu's function as police ministers to formulate policy in consultation with provincial governments on policing. The man convicted of the murder of a German tourist on the road towards the Kruger Park has been sentenced to 25 years in prison. And the German Chancellor has called for effective deterrence by NATO in response to repeated airspace violations by Russia. A full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM.
Good
Guiding
afternoon.
you
Starting
through
off
the
in
rush hour
Gauteng,
traffic.
Douglas Drive westbound in Douglasdale is where a crash is reported before Galloway Avenue. Greyston Drive in Sandton is queuing at the M1 highway and the N3 southbound in Germiston queuing towards Geldenhuys interchange. In KZN, the M13 westbound in Hillcrest slow moving towards Old Main Road, the N3 both ways queuing on the link to the N2 north at Spaghetti Junction, and Chris Hani Road westbound queuing at the N2 highway. In Cape Town, the M5 northbound queuing towards Kuburg interchange. The N7 Jakes Hadville Drive southbound in Lunga has a stationary truck reported at the N2 highway, and Kromboom Road in Rondebosch East queuing towards Jan Smuts Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Hey, if you got the message, I've been talking about it all week. Like, come on, support the baby Proteas, and there's every reason to, as Tumi will tell you.
Yeah, the baby Proteas know what to expect in today's Netball World Youth Cup quarterfinal against the Cook Island tonight. Now, Coach Precious Mthembu says that the team gained valuable insight when they faced the Islanders in their build-up to the tournament. South Africa's under-21 netball side go into the clash of the bag of topping Pool D after a commanding 86-35 win over Fiji.
The results really secured our spots in the quarterfinals. Now we shift focus to our next challenge against Cook Island. Fortunately, we had an opportunity to play Cook Island in our warm-up games when we got here in Gibraltar, so we kind of have a good sense of what to expect from them. Today was just being clinical, managing the energy on the girls' legs, making sure that everyone is on the same level.
In rugby, John Dobson has named Ruan Nel as Stormers captain for tomorrow's URC opener against defending champions Leinster in Cape Town. The experienced centre takes the armband in the absence of Salma Murata and Dion Fourie. Nel will partner with Dan du Plessis in midfield with Leolin Zas and Sabelo Senatla providing firepower out wide, and Wandisile Simelane starting at fullback in the absence of injured Wark Geland. 3 players are in line to make their Stormers debuts off the bench. 19-year-old prop Oli Reit, loose forward Ruan Ackerman, and fly half Clinton Swart. In football, Kaizer Chiefs co-coach Khalil Ben Yusuf says that he's not concerned about their struggles over the last 3 matches, saying that he prefers to focus on the positives despite failing to win.
We discussed in the meeting before the game the importance of this game to come back first for the confidence for the team. Second, also the opportunity to come back in the first or the second position. Like I said, the performance was good today, but the result wasn't. We have to continue to work and to think forward. Now this game is finished. We have to think about next game. For us today, this season, every game is cup game. We have to play to win every game. Then the result, inshallah, will be better.
Elsewhere, just over 2 years since moving to Bayern Munich, informed striker Harry Kane can set yet another record in tomorrow's home clash against Werder Bremen. Playing his 104th game for Bayern, Kane needs 2 goals to become the fastest man to 100 goals with the club in Europe's top 5 leagues, breaking the record of 105 matches jointly held by Cristiano Ronaldo and Erling Haaland. Kane is already the fastest to 50 Bundesliga goals, bringing that mark up in 43 matches, a record he also took from the Norway striker. Now, Kane made his Bundesliga debut in August 2023 against Bremen, scoring a goal and setting up another one in a 4-0 win just days after arriving from his boyhood club, Tottenham Hotspur. In tennis, Jannik Sinner beat Croatia's Marin Cilic 6-2 and 6-2 to cruise into round 2 in Beijing on his first showing since losing the US Open final. Next up, in the China Open. The world number 2 from Italy faces qualifier Terence Atmain of France. In motorsport, Marc Marquez says that he wants to celebrate his second life in MotoGP by clinching his first world title since 2019 this weekend in Japan after a nightmare of struggles with the injuries. The Spanish Ducati rider can win his 7th world title if he finishes the weekend in Motegi with at least 3 more points than his brother and nearest championship rival Alex Marquez. The 32-year-old is back on top after an injury saga that began when he broke his right arm in 2020 and almost convinced him to hang up his helmet. Anything's off with golf. Europe's golfers are ready for world number 2 Rory McIlroy to become a magnet for United States supporters when the Ryder Cup begins tomorrow. McIlroy, who won the Masters in April to complete a career Grand Slam, leads holders Europe into his 8th Cup showdown, the most of any player in this week's matches. Well, that is a wrap from my side.
And while you're talking about all of that, what I'm thinking about is if you're a supporter of, because there's been a supporter pleading about Kaiser Chiefs to say, please, they must win right now. But if you're a supporter of Manchester United and you mention people like Harry Kane and everybody else, I'm like, actually, United supporters are in a wonderful position. They've got no problems with scheduling on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night or a Thursday night. They've got that entire week free nowadays. It's the most craziest situation to be in.
Are you enjoying it?
No, I'm not. I'm lost.
Maybe next season is a different season. It might be a better season.
You know, it's like when you're in political power and you're a president, you get voted out. That's how you feel. Like,
literally.
Where do I go next, man?
You have free time.
Yeah. No, but no stress either.
Yeah, with that said, ke na tumeng kgapela Modimo ke yo.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, KG Mweketi.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, so we got the SFM market update coming up 6 to 7 to set the scene, as we often do, is Jimmy Moyaha. Jimmy, what's top of the agenda?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. We're going to be taking a look at the latest consumer confidence data that's come out of the Bureau for Economic Research. It suggests that consumers are still under quite a bit of pressure. We're going to speak to the chief economist at FNB South Africa around that and get a sense of what the data means for the South African consumer and where we go from here. Then we've got a conversation with the Standard Bank Group around Africa's future and placing that at the forefront of the G20 presidency. We know that the G20 summit takes place later in the year, in November, but we are, of course, we have been building up to it for the longest time, including the sessions that you keep having on Thursdays as well with Channel Africa. So we're going to take a look at this from a business perspective and look at the opportunity case that lies for Africa's infrastructure and funding Africa's infrastructure. Then we've got a conversation with the team at SA Breweries celebrating Heritage Day that took place obviously yesterday. They have been celebrating 130 years of SAB in South Africa, and we're going to take a look at what they held yesterday as part of their Heritage celebration, or Heritage Day celebrations rather, in the form of the world's biggest braai. We're going to speak to them about that and see how that went. And then we've got our usual SME of the week feature. We're going to spotlight a small business doing really well and get to showcase that business to our listeners. And then we've got a very interesting conversation with the team at Disney Plus. They are, of course, part of the bigger Walt Disney business and the owners of ESPN. Now, that's a particularly interesting reference there because Disney Plus is looking to, effective from the 2nd of October, allow for its South African subscribers to now access ESPN on their Disney Plus subscriptions. This is going to be a game changer for streaming as we look at streaming and sports, and in the context of what's been happening with the multi-choice sale and unbundling and restructuring there. We're going to speak to the team at Disney Disney around what it is that product offering will look like for South African consumers. South African consumers will be happy to know it comes at no additional cost to your existing Disney Plus subscription. So we're going to speak to them and get a sense of what streaming sports now means for how we enjoy our sports in South Africa. And I thought that would be a particularly interesting conversation that Dumi might want to listen to as well from that perspective. But that's what's coming up on the show. That's what we're going to be getting into a little later on. For now, a quick sense of how the markets have been performing throughout the day. It's been a red day on the local front, but by and large, seems like it's been a red day across the board. In Asian markets, the only real winner there was the Nikkei, up about a little over 0.25%. European markets were all in the red, the biggest loser there being the DAX in Germany, down more than 0.5%. The FTSE in London down 0.1%. The Nasdaq is currently down, and the S&P both are down around 0.4% each, with the Dow down about 0.25%. Our own local markets, resources were down about 1.1%, financials down 1.8%. Industrials somehow managed to eke out 8 basis points of gains, but that wasn't enough. The all share was still down 0.83%. The top 40 still down more than 0.75%. And if we look at commodity prices, the gold price $3,732 a fine ounce, not really moving too much. But still a little negative at this point. Platinum 1,524, that is up. Palladium 1,277, that is also up. Brent crude $68.62 a barrel, that is up, and that is not what we like to see there. It's etching closer to $70 a barrel there. The rand also giving back a lot of its gains, particularly against the US dollar. 17 rand 43. We were at 17.25 at some point this week as well. Late on Tuesday going into Wednesday. So 17.43 is where we are at the moment. 23 rand 27 is what 1 British pound would set you back. 1 euro 20 rand and 36 cents. 1 Australian dollar 11 rand and 42 cents. Anyone looking at a Bitcoin would be expected to pay 111,200 odd dollars a Bitcoin, or in rand terms 1.94 million rand for a Bitcoin. We're going to look at these and other market movements a little later on. I have Robbie Proctor from Anchor Capital joining me on markets to take a look at some of these movements and see if we can make sense of them. But of course, that conversation comes up after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Right, perfect. Thanks. Enjoy your show. I certainly will enjoy listening to it. I can tell you that now. And I also want to enjoy listening to you as in you, the listener, wherever you may be in South Africa or listening via streaming live around the world, connected to the National Pulse.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Okay, around the world, but we go to Limpopo first, which is not another part of the world. It's in South Africa. Peter, go for it. Hello.
Yes, how are you, sir?
I'm really good indeed, right? What's your point?
Yes, my point is about the ANC as the governing party.
Yeah.
I'm very much concerned of them because 5 years back, they were formalizing the informal settlement. And then of which, to date, up to to date, those formal settlement, they are not paying. They don't buy electricity. I don't know how many formal settlements they got up to now, but those people are not buying electricity. So meaning the people who are buying electricity, they buy electricity with a high price, and then they also buy paying for those who are not paying. So I don't know why now, as people, we are complaining of electricity, but some are not paying electricity.
Well, they're not paying because many of them can't afford it. I mean, it has become frighteningly expensive. Even people who've got money can't afford it, Peter. And it can't be left unchecked to say, you've got no money. Sorry. It is a recipe for a crisis, and it is. Peter in Limpopo, thank you for that, right? Alba in Sky City. Where is Sky City, Alba? Tell me.
In somewhere in Premier Palm Ridge Magistrate Court.
Oh, I see. Okay, got that. Right. Go for it. What's your point?
I want to talk about Operation Dodula.
Yeah.
You know, they prevent kids from accessing health care. Now, the very same kids that they are preventing from accessing primary health care, They are staying with them maybe in informal settlements or in the township. They are renting their own back rooms.
Mm-hmm.
When it's time for the same illegal immigrant to pay their rentals, they don't have any problems. But if the child has got TB, the child will start spreading TB in the very same area. And then we'll have an outbreak because those parents also, they are working. They use public transport. So then in the long run, we'll have an outbreak. So because the people are already in the country, why don't you let them you get the primary health care? But you take your war to the minister who is responsible, to the doors of the government, because we don't have borders. So why don't they go to the government to say, why is it that we don't have borders in the country, so that you stop people from flocking in, because you cannot take them out. Once you stop them coming in, then it is easy to deport those who are already in.
Well, I think it's not like we don't have borders. We have borders. We just don't have the doors of the borders
they're
are
not
open.
working.
Yeah, the doors are open.
So they're not working. So it's the same as somebody who does not have a border.
Okay.
So, but it seems as if they don't have a problem with these borders which are not well functional. They've got a problem with somebody who is already in here. But the problem, if there is an outbreak of disease because people could not access primary health care, it's going to affect even those people who are South Africans.
Yeah. All right.
And
You've said a lot of things, Albert. Thank you for that. And I'm going to leave it to others who may want to just add to what you're saying or actually debate it. I'll leave it to the general public. Albert, thank you for that in Sky City. Right. I need to hear what you have to say via WhatsApp voice notes. There's also some text messages as well. Let me pick up this one here. Ashraf, hi. I hope you're well. My name is Lido Nunez from Joburg. Born in Mozambique. I had a sad story happen to my daughter today, and I don't know where to report it. My daughter said she's sick, went to a Zatnelbul clinic. Operation Dudula said they didn't allow her to go in with her ID in her hands. They say her surname is not from South Africa, so she doesn't deserve to have treatment. You see, that's one. I tell you what, maybe that testimony, if you can actually connect with Keys, my producer, let's see if we can follow it up with you. Because, I mean, again, the point's been made. Whatever your feelings are about it, Operation Dudula is not the police, and they can't act as the police, or can they?
Good afternoon, Ashraf and SAFM. Trust you guys are blessed this afternoon. Ashraf, just to highlight to you, Panyaza Lesufi is excited that I think over 100 drug rehabilitation centers will be operational. However, how is it possible that he's excited about drug rehabilitation centers and not catching the drug lords? So the fact that the drug lords are still in business makes him look good. I mean, come on, the ANC needs to wake up. It's 30 years later. Come on, let's go to the root cause and solve it at the root, not after effects, just to gain points. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. I mean, here's a question. Why are we not able to stamp out crime? And I'm talking about organized crime on a big scale. Why are we not able to stamp out the drug trade in our country? It's a scourge, I know, worldwide, but countries have been able to deal with it and deal with it effectively. What are we getting wrong here?
Ashraf, good afternoon. It's Clinton here. Ashraf, Minister of Electricity is arguably the best South African minister, or let me rather put it, the best the ANC has to deliver in the last 5 years. Really, he's a voice of reason. The man knows what he's talking about. He has the expertise, the knowledge, and the know-how. Really, he is. Really, I must give him credit. It's a pity the ANC doesn't have many of those that knows what they are doing.
Okay, it's a pity they don't have many of those. I mean, that's in fact your call is complimentary to the ANC for appointing him in the first place, to the president, but it also reflects the dearth of quality at the same time that many people talk about too. Right? Here's another significant politician.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, SAFM listeners. Hey man, what is going on? What is unfolding in our country now? Let me tell you, whether the findings of this commission are lawful and binding, whether Kenny Kunene was not found guilty by anyone, that is fine. All we want is the truth. And I must tell you, buddy, this country is heading to the right direction. We will know the truth. Kenny Kunene will deal with them at the later stage. Thank you very much. Maru Momaike.
Thanks, Maroon. Nice to hear that. Like, country's heading in the right direction. You know what? I'm not going to challenge you on that. This is the national pulse. We get a feel of the pulse of the nation. I know what you're feeling now.
The Blues fully get it that victory at Stamford Bridge brings more joy to their fans.
As this corner goes into the centre, and there is João Pedro!
But the Seagulls want to avoid mistakes and deliver an excellent game plan.
Vince Milner with a little shuffle, the run up, and into the bottom corner. Beautifully converted by James Milner against his former club.
This is the Premier League. Experience Chelsea FC versus Brighton and Hove Albion FC on Saturday, 27 September at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to WeBuy Cars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy prams that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. WeBuy Cars. Geared for family, geared for you.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
So here's a question. In spite of the fact that there are still so many problems and the electricity, the prices are sky high. So one thing is not getting electricity. The other is actually getting it and then paying an absolute fortune for it that none of us can really afford, really. Okay? But here's the question. Do you find that in his relatively short stint as the Minister of Energy or Minister of Electricity and Energy, in his relatively short stint, Dr. Josiencho Ramakgopa is, in fact, the most energized, and I say that the most energized minister within South Africa's cabinet. Yay or nay? Thumbs up, thumbs down, you tell me. Okay, let's get to further comments. In fact, there's comments about the other Minister of Energy once before, Gwede Mantashe.
Hi, Ashraf. It's funny how Yelland mentions the poor performance of Mantashe, but his mom about the CEO of the time as well, who was ADR. I don't know if that's deliberate or what, because he was the one pushing his term at Eskom as the great new dawn, but well, it was always dusk when our old CEO was at the helm. So, yeah, interesting times in SA.
Okay, and your point is noted, as I'm sure Chris Yallen would note it if he listens into the show just now.
Good afternoon, Asharan. It's Puelo in Kimberley in the Northern Cape. With regards to what the Minister of Electricity is saying, my take is that here in Kimberley, we are buying electricity at a very exorbitant price. So what he just said that the poor will not be affected and so on, for me, I just think that it's not assisting at all because we are buying electricity very expensive in Kimberley.
Well, I mean, I think that's the point. The prices are just a no-no. They are unaffordable and unsustainable too.
Hi, Ashraf. Great show as always. Bangalore here in Durban. Gayton McKenzie is confusing himself and is confusing us. I think he needs to take 2 for Pfizer.
Okay. Well, he does sound very confusing. Doesn't even just sound. It's confusing. It is confusing what he's saying.
Dumela Ntate Ashraf Nhlanhla Tsholo here from the Val. Let us not forget, in national government, it is not a coalition, but it's a government of national unity. Gayton McKenzie says the PA will withdraw from every coalition with the ANC. At national level, they are in a GNU, not a coalition with the ANC. Halala.
Okay. No, I hear that, and I know the distinction. But in fact, if you heard a different clip, he made the point about saying we will withdraw from coalitions, but we'll also serve notice for the GNU. So it didn't come in the clip he played. I don't think so. But he made the separation of the two and still talking about the GNU will give notice to withdraw from that as well. He didn't say it'll happen in a day, but it will happen too. Yeah? Confused? So am I.
Ashraf and fellow FM listeners, good evening. My name is Tulani Nzima Croydon. Now, Ashraf, people who don't believe Mkhwanazi or any of the other witnesses and they still want to say it's nothing but their side of the story. It's the very same people mostly who, even after Ramaphosa said, yes, I had hidden millions, US dollar millions in the SOFA and I know about it, they still believe that Ramaphosa did not know about the money and whatever he did, it had no criminal activities involved. Thank you.
Thank you. I tell you what, I was just picking out a tweet that I must tell you about Jaco Kleinhans from, he's part of Solidarity, right? So he's tweeted just yesterday, in fact, saying, he's got a video of, again, people in red chanting "Kill the Boer." And he's saying, during my current visit to Washington, D.C., I'm showing this video to everyone we meet. The disgusting chant "Kill the Boer" is still being sung in South Africa. Here it was a few days ago on a university campus. Now, the response comes from Max Dupree, who says, AfriForum and Solidarity have to start paying Julius Malema royalties. He has become the only weapon in their crusade to MAGA, make America great again. America. Yes, the leader whose party only represents 9% of the voters. I thought that's just worth playing, don't you think, right?
Ashraf, good afternoon. I'm Tagata in Landi location. We black people, we used to wear around our neck that white beads to show that we done whatever custom that we were doing at home. Our employers, they tend not to like it. Sometimes they will ask if you can hide it. There's another one that we put it on the wrist. Also, they don't like that one. But if you are having a nice chain, gold chain, a diamond chain, they will ask you how much you bought that chain. But if it's those beads that we wear around our neck and wrists, they ask you to hide it. I really don't know where are we going with these cultures if they are hated by our employers.
Okay, and the last word goes to the person that started it all off, Mkhwanazi.
Ashraf and fellow FM listeners, good evening. My name is Tulani Nzima Croydon. Now, Ashraf, people who don't believe Mkhwanazi or any of the other witnesses and they still want to say it's nothing but their side of the story. It's the very same people mostly who, even after Ramaphosa said, yes, I had hidden millions, US dollar millions in the SOFA and I know about it, they still believe that Ramaphosa did not know about the money and whatever he did, it had no criminal activities involved. Thank you.
Okay, let's leave it at that, right? I think that's the show. Podcasts available. You can catch it, sfm.coza. Go to the website. You'll find all the podcasts of all the big issues that we've covered on the show today, yesterday, the day before. They're all there. Share that with your friends. Share it amongst your networks. Use, WhatsApp works. Just multiply. It'll be great if you do that. And if you have any feedback, drop us an email to feedback@safm.co.za. Thank you for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow. Oh, yes, Rihanna Musaji is my guest tomorrow on the Fireside Chat. Don't miss that. Let's get the news at 6 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. Police's head of legal services testifies at the Matlanga Commission and Kruger Park Tour.